The video you're about to watch does not have that good of production quality, and the reason for that is simple. The 4.5-hour recording that I did got corrupted, and unfortunately I have to just go off of the audio. Now, thankfully, this is split into 2 recording sessions, but the last recording session is only like 30 minutes, and the rest is like 4 hours. And of the 4 hours, only the first 10 minutes are usable. So that's what's going to happen. I'm going to use 10 minutes of webcam and screen recording footage, and then it's going to be audio only. And then the last 30 minutes where I talk about books and jELeeoo videos is going to be back to screen recording and webcam and stuff like that. So I apologize. I'm really sorry, but I want this video out, and I'm tired of just sitting on it, dreading re-recording everything. So I'm not gonna re-record. So yeah, thank you for understanding, and goodbye.
Greetings, everyone. It's me, jELeeoo Claus, here another year to tell you Merry Christmas. Ho 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 ho!
The year is coming to an end, and like with last year, I've played many games and read many books, and there's just a lot of stuff I want to talk about before the year ends. So welcome to the 2025 jELeeoo wrap-up. Unlike last year, I'm just going to put everything in one video. We're going to talk about games first, and then we're going to talk about books, and then I'm going to talk about videos I plan to make in the future of jELeeoo as a whole. And I'm going to put timestamps in the description for everybody, and it'll be a fun time. And also, there's not going to be any fancy editing, because frankly, I just have so much shit going on that I would rather just make it like this little video that I can just add music and cuts to, and that's it. That's all I gotta do. So with that being said, let's talk about the video games I have played this year, and let's start off with the one that I got for Christmas last year. Let's talk about Metaphor Fantazio. This game was definitely a very pleasant surprise, and I really liked the story a lot more than I did most Persona games. The story of this game is essentially, this is like a fantasy world, and it takes that to the extreme. Like, it is fantasy, and basically there's all these multiple races, and there's a lot of racism between them all, discrimination. And then the king all of a sudden dies, and the king casted like a Hail Mary spell to basically be like, whoever people believe in their hearts to be the king will be the king. Like, whoever gets the majority vote in people's hearts. And so your main guy is actually here to save the prince, who's like fucking... I forgot what I was gonna say. The main guy is mostly here to save the prince, who is secretly alive, but he's very sick. But he's like, okay, well, I need a good ploy to get close to all these people. I'll just run for king myself. And it ends up mostly being a race to be the king. And overall, I'd say it's done pretty well. There is some stupid stuff, like I think the shit with, what's her face? Joanna? I wrote it down. Yeah, Joanna, I think that shit is dumb. Honestly, early on, the villains, I say, like, fall into, like, Persona levels of shallowness, but, like, as the game goes on, I'd say the villains of the month get better. Because the game also works on a calendar system, the gameplay formula is very Persona. I'd also say that, you know, for a game called Metaphor, the game is not subtle at all. Like, there's a book that the main character likes that's like a novel like depicting a utopia, and the game basically looks you in the eyes like, this is how the world should be. This is how you should be able to freely practice religion and not be racist, and you should be nice to others. Everybody should get a fair wage. Like, the game is not subtle at all.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
That being said, there is one major problem that kind of like makes or breaks the story for me, and by makes or breaks, I mean like a make or break point that broke the story for me was how they handled the topic of religion, because the game like says like, hey, you should be nice and like equality to all, freedom of religion, and then it only exclusively like depicts the big religion of the game as like bad, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because yes, major religious institutes in the real world are filled with corrupt figures at the top who wish to abuse their power, but that can be said for literally any institution. Any institution will always have somebody at the top who gets too greedy and corrupted by power, and will ultimately use that for selfish needs and ultimately for bad, right? And the reason it bothers me is because, like, despite that happening, there are still people who are ultimately good, who believe in the actual practices of religion, which like is to do kindness unto others or something like that. And we do not see that in Metaphor. I did not see a single character who was a huge believer of I forget the name of the religion, but like it's the major religion of the game, and was like nice to people. Like, there's only one time where we see like one of the devout believers question his faith after seeing the corruption of the religious institute, and he actually decides to do something about it. but like it feels like too little too late at that point, because it's like in like the very last bit of the game. And to me, it just comes across as like hypocritical to like the whole thing you're trying to preach with the game, essentially. Because you can have this conversation with like more nuance and taste than just saying big religion is using its power to be mean to others. Kind of bad. And also, you know, call me crazy, but I'm just kind of getting tired of seeing that trope in JRPGs. You know, I've seen it too much, and I'd like to see more than just God people are bad. So there you are, a man who's pretty agnostic defends Christianity for y'all. In terms of the characters, I like them. Overall, I actually really like the characters way more than any like Persona characters, mostly because they don't have like that one trait that makes them really annoying. There's also like a social link with a child that doesn't make me want to barf because it's like how cringe it is, or how much I hate children character in media. What's her name? Maria. She's actually a cool character. I actually like her a lot. Speaking of, this game has social links like Persona, but they have 8 ranks instead of 10, and there's way less of them. And sometimes I feel like they progress way too quickly. Like sometimes on like rank 2, you'll talk as if you've like known each other for years or something. But I do actually like how there's only 8 ranks instead of 10. It gives you a lot more freedom in the game. You don't have to worry about, you know, prioritizing completing everything. I like that a lot. Overall, I'd say the social links they're called bonds in this game. They're really cool. But that being said, the actual best character in the entire game is Alonso. He's the best one. I like him a lot. He's so fucking cool. I'd also say the main party is for the most part pretty good as well. I never really cared for Juna. She just kind of inserts herself into the party, and like she's kind of cool, but I just think that literally every other character that you get in your party is cooler. I didn't give a shit about Juna at all. I also like way more. That's kind of stupid, but I said that, but whatever. Moore is essentially the Igor of this game, but he feels way more involved with the plot, and he feels like he has his own character aside from like just the crazy weird guide that's in your head. I also like his quests more than the fusion quests, because this game doesn't have fusions. It has just like a class system, like fucking Final Fantasy V. I also feel that Batlin, is that his name? Is it Bolton or Batlin? Oh yeah, it's Batlin. Okay, that's a stupid name. By the way, that guy, he should have been a social link. He was genuinely like a treat to like have on the screen later on in the game. I loved his character, and I'm very upset that he does not become a social link. I feel like he very much should have. He was definitely snubbed. But the actual character I want to talk about is Luis Guillaburn, because he's the main villain of this game, and I loved him. Oh my gosh, it is so refreshing to have like a really good villain in an Atlas game. I say as I've only played Persona and Nocturne, but he is such a good character. You see him before you even see the main character. Like I'm so glad that he is the villain throughout the entire game. There's no secret plot twist villain. It's him through and through, and he is such a fucking treat because of how he's written. Because a lot of people, me included, love characters that believe that what they are doing is 100% correct and that is something that must be done, even if sometimes the ends are a little questionable. The means are a little questionable. Because and he's such a fucking treat because he is so unapologetically himself, and he like is so upfront about what he does. That's also something that I really like about him. He's a schemer and a piece of shit, but at the same time, he's pretty fucking honest. But if there's any other villain characters that I really don't like, quick little spoiler, I'm gonna put a timestamp. But Rella being a twist villain was so fucking stupid, because I get that like she's trying to test the party, but you don't need to like all of a sudden act like someone completely different and be like, I was evil the entire time. I just hated all of that. That was really fucking stupid. Because in Xenoblade 3 there's a very similar situation, but it's handled a lot better and way cooler because the character is still in character. It feels like Rella changing to be secretly super evil was so fucking forced. It made it like, I hate when characters all of a sudden reveal themselves to be a villain and they just act completely different from how they were acting once before, because like if you're gonna pretend to be someone else, you're still gonna retain a bit of who you are. Also, low-key, I think that Yufa, her social link could have been way better, in my opinion. I like her character, but the plot of her social link is really dumb, and it's just more religion bad. Can you believe that all of that was just me talking about the story and characters? I haven't even gotten to the gameplay. My big complaint for the gameplay is that Gallica's combat lines are so goddamn annoying. I have nothing against Gallica. I think she's a fine character, but every time I'm in a battle and I hear the same fucking voice lines, like, Stroll, you gotta do better than that. Me when I fucking get you. I'm gonna hold you up to the camera, Gallica. I hate you. I hate you. It's so goddamn annoying. As for the combat itself, it's very interesting, and it feels like a natural evolution to what Persona 3 started without being, like, overly, stupid as Persona 5. Because my one big problem with Persona combat in general is that you pretty much just farm for enemy weaknesses, and once you know that, it's just like a math formula at that point. So this game decided to kind of make it way more harder to stun enemies and give yourself an extra turn, at least in the mid-game, up to the mid-game. In the late game, there are some moves you can use to cheese your way into getting way more turns. But I like it. It's a lot more balanced, and it feels like a natural evolution of turn-based combat in general. One of the directions it could go. Because there's another game that's on this list, and you probably know what it is, that is an evolution of turn-based combat in another direction. The game also has a very robust class system, which is very good. It's another one of those clearly inspired by Final Fantasy V class systems, but it's still good nonetheless. But, you know, also the class system is completely tied behind the social links, which, you know, is what makes these games so unique, and that's what I like a lot. I also really like that there's dungeon exploration, and there's also like dungeon exploration on this thing right here on my screen called the Gauntlet Runner, and I really like that a lot because the Gauntlet Runner is you know, you're going through this entire world, right? And it's a huge fantasy world, and, you know, there's no fucking cars or train because it's fucking fantasy, right? So instead, you when you go from place to place, you go on this thing called the Gauntlet Runner, and you actually have to spend a few days to get from place to place. But what makes it interesting is that there's just so fucking much to do on the Gauntlet Runner. Sometimes you have to advance social links exclusively while in transit on the Gauntlet Runner, which makes it actually super fucking interesting for me. And I like it. I think it's a very cool system. Of course, once you reach a place, you can teleport back to it easily, which also, you know, makes it very easy. You don't have to, like, constantly go back and forth when traveling. But I really like that. I really like how they handled world exploration in this game. And then sometimes you spend a few days to travel to side dungeons. And there are side dungeons in this game, and they aren't, like, they're nothing to write home about, but they're still, it's way more... It's nowhere near as, like, insulting as Tartarus or Mementos. They're actual, just, like, little labyrinths just filled with enemies and chests that you go in and you go out, and it's like it's a fun time and, like, way to, you know, gain experience and level up and stuff like that. And it's not fucking stupid. It's not really annoying. Other than that, I'd say I have one other big complaint with the gameplay, and that is the last boss, the final boss of the game. Spoilers, it's Luis, but, like, his final form. Oh my god, that was such a long ass boss. He's just a fucking huge ass health sponge. Like, that's it. That's literally it. I was like, okay, I'm finally gonna beat the game tonight. And then the final boss kept going, and I just got so tired that I just gave up, and I went and finished it the next day. Like, because I got that fucking sleepy. Moving on to the game world itself, it's definitely, like, definitely art style wise, this is the best looking game that that Atlus has made. Some of the views are straight up paintings, and I mean that literally. The art direction as a whole is just very strong. And, you know, that being said, the world is a shithole, and I mean that in, like, a good way. They're trying to depict it as a place that you would not want to live. You know, this is highlighted by, like, in the town, you can literally, like, pass by just bodies and drunkards casually rotting away in alleyways. Meanwhile, you go to, like, a higher class district and everybody's, like, prospering and totally fine. The game very much makes a divide between class very obvious, and, like, it makes it very, despite being a fantasy world, it feels very believable. I also feel the game also gives, like, a lot of nameless NPCs a lot of personality that when you're passing by, like, there's an executioner casually, like, in the capital city who felt guilt for killing his own kind, and, like, that was very interesting to talk to that guy and, like, learn about him. There's also just a random guy that you can help, like, write a letter to his son, and you don't even get that big of a reward for it, and, like, that was a very interesting interaction I had in the game. I also really like the details in the environments. Like, for example, because it's like a race to be king, you can see like little campaign posters for the multiple kingly candidates that I think is really cool. Other than that, you know, obviously there's the religion problem again. Oh, there's also, okay, one of the races in the game is called the Nydia, and they're secretly like these weird chibi elf-looking people with weird shiny eyes, but then they can have magic to like mask themselves to be looking normal except for their eyes. But you're told that like they keep that thing a secret for like everybody. But I just don't believe that. You cannot have an entire massive group of the people making up a sizable chunk of the population who's just secretly a little chibi baby and that like nobody knows that at all. That would be widespread news so quickly. Someone would find out and spread the word like wildfire. Also, it has no bearing on the plot anyway, so why should I care? I do not give a shit. Lastly, I just want to go over some miscellaneous things I took note of. For one, booting up the game is a fucking nightmare. There are so many logos that you have to mash the fucking start button to skip through when you just want to boot up the game. That makes it really annoying. Like the animation, I also feel that some of the animations need to be quicker in the game. I also would love to just be able to pause and quit mid cutscene or combat, just go straight to the title screen. There are times where I actually think this game managed to be kind of funny, which is surprising because when it comes to Persona games, their definition of comedy is just anime comedy, and you know, not to be racist or anything, but anime is not funny. It's just not. You cannot show me a single clip from Persona that I find funny that the developers wanted me to laugh at. I'm laughing at like bad writing or some shit like that with those games. I actually like how the protagonist of this game, who like normally with Persona games, your protagonist is a blank slate, quiet guy because you know you're meant to project yourself onto him. But that's not the case in this game, thankfully. I actually really like how Will, as his name is, like you actually, all of his dialogue options are voiced. That makes me very happy. It makes him way more unique, and it doesn't like take away from the game at all. It only adds. The music is banging, but you know, you probably know that. It's a fucking JRPG. They're always gonna have good music. That being said, I do feel like the music in the 4th dungeon, the one in the island to the south, I feel like that song does not fit with the like aesthetics of the environment at all. It feels very dissonant narratively. Also, I'd say overall, some of the voice performances are very middling. I like these voice actors, but there are some who have a bit of a monotone problem where they don't have a wide vocal range. I think the cutscene camera is significantly improved compared to Persona, like the way the camera is framed when in a cutscene. There's also no romancing option in this game, so 10 out of 10. Fuck you, Persona pedophiles. I also think that the social links are way more useful compared to I think that the rewards you get from social links are way more useful compared to Persona in this game as well. Like, there's just so many abilities and obviously classes to unlock that make this game so much more rewarding to actually want to spend time with these people. You get way more motivation too. And honestly, I think that's all I want to say. I spent 22 minutes talking about this game, but it was like a 100-hour playthrough, so can you blame me? I give it a gold star out of 10. I think Atlus should really keep up with what they changed from Persona in their future projects, including in Persona 6. I think they should take more from this game than Persona 5. And I'd say overall, it's a very strong start to the year. And after I had something that was so long to start off the year, I definitely needed to cleanse a little bit. I needed some mouthwashing. I played Mouthwashing, and it was fine. I think it was way too overhyped on my end, but it was a fun 2-hour little horror experience. But I'm gonna be real, I think this should have been a movie. And this is someone who definitely thinks that, like, if something is made as a game, it is intended to stay as a game. But I think this is a rare occasion where I think it would have been better as a movie. Because there is really just no playing this game. It really is just walk and talk to this person and then progress to next story event. That being said, the story is actually pretty good. This is just a good short game that's like, it's fucked up. It's been talked about to death when it came out, but I liked it. I really liked it a lot. It also just has a surprisingly banging soundtrack. The plot is about like this crew of like space mailmen that basically they crash and they're doomed to fucking die, and like it's how they cope with all this shit. And it also shows the events leading up to the crash, because spoilers, the crash was not an accident. And it has like a lot of twists that are very surprising and upsetting and make it a really good story. That being said, I think the game was definitely overhyped, and I'm going to say I overall like the game, but if you want the game that everyone thinks this game is, play Presentable Liberty. It's about the same length, but it's completely free, and it is way more effective at being existentialist horror than this game is. That being said, I did like it. I don't know. $12 good? I don't know. $12 for 2 hours of like whatever. I just put in some miscellaneous notes here just to say that in between these next two, I replayed Lies of P in preparation for the DLC. I played a lot of DRG throughout the entire year, as you know, because I'm addicted to that game. I officially 100% Xenoblade here. And lastly, I played the Ultra Krill revamp update, and I feel like I should just talk about, because it feels like the game is like actually like just remade, which is insane. The overhaul to the visuals they did with that game is insane. It looks so much better now. I'm so glad that they did that, and it looks good. Anyways, for the next game, I was scared to get into the next game because I was going to play it last year, but ultimately I feel like I couldn't. I feel like I was not allowed to, and that is because I was scared, not because it was a horror themed thing, but because I feel like it would emotionally destroy me as the original base game is, because spoilers, it's a DLC, and it ended up doing that, and it ended up changing my life once again, if it isn't obvious enough from the fact that I made a video about it, because now it's time to talk about it. Again, I don't really want to talk about much without spoiling the game, because it's always so hard to talk about this game and its DLC without spoiling it. I think what's being shown right now is a huge spoiler. Actually, I'm gonna switch to the other trailer. That being said, this is probably one of the greatest intros to any DLC ever, with the new area, like the way you enter the new area and like the big reveal of what the new area looks like. It is so... If that floored me, it would, and frankly, I like this area a lot. I think it's my new favorite area in the entire solar system of Outer Wilds, but I mean, it's kind of cheating because it's like so big to warrant the entire DLC. You're spending the entire DLC in this new area. So like, honestly, I'm just gonna say that's cheating, and Giant Steep is still my favorite planet in the game. Also, the new soundtrack is so good. Like this combined with the base game soundtrack, my new favorite game soundtrack period. It is so good. You know what? Fuck it. If you don't want to be... I'm not gonna like spoil the end game or anything like that, but if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever for the Outer Wilds DLC, skip to here. I also like a lot of the new concepts introduced, like the lights in the stranger, the weird slide reel things, the strangers themselves, and like the dream world. I also just really like the lore behind it all. That being said, this DLC has one major flaw, and that is the fucking stealth sections. I like stealth in video games. I like stealth games. I like stealth. This is not good stealth at all. It is terrible. Being blind is not fun. Walking through complete darkness where your screen is actually just pitch black is not fun. It is so unbelievably... Bad darkness in video games is my greatest pet peeve. It is so annoying. It is one of the biggest reasons that I really did not like Resident Evil 2 Remake. It gets on my nerves so bad. You have no idea. And, like, it fucking sucks. And, it was so bad to the point where, like, I was, like, honestly ready to give up on the DLC. It was that bad. I only actually beat it because I installed a mod to just make it so that I can see in the darkness. Like, maybe if I could actually see just a little bit in front of me, I'd be fine. But you just cannot see anything. You literally are blindly walking through things, and you're just more than likely just going to bump into a thing you're supposed to be avoiding. It's not good. It's not good. That being said, I absolutely adored the ending of this game. I think it does actually make the experience worth it, even if it was a stupid struggle. I think it was worth it in exchange for such a mind-blowing and just amazing ending. And I also like how it affects the base game ending as well. The base game ending does change if you beat the DLC. And frankly, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. Despite the stupid complaint, this is definitely one of the greatest gaming experiences I've had in my life. And frankly, I know it's kind of unfair because it's a DLC, but low-key, my game of the year. Period. It did come out this year. Shut up. Game of the year. Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye DLC. So, because overall, it was really good. I liked it a lot. The only problem was that the stealth segments bogged it down just a little bit. Also, the game was just not scary. The game tells you that it's going to... when you get the DLC, it tells you, hey, this DLC is going to be a little horror-themed. There's a reduced frights option in the menu, and I never found it scary enough to turn it on, and it makes me wonder what the fuck's reduced frights even does, because, do I get handed a fucking birthday cake instead of dying every time? Because, it's really not that scary. Oh, fuck, I forgot, I had, the physical copies of the games I played, and I was gonna, show them off when I talk about them, so, here's Metaphor. I forgot. Okay, you know what, whatever. I have Mouthwashing and Echoes of the Eye digitally, so, I'm going to now show the next physical copy of the game, and the next game we're talking about, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. I've been meaning to talk about this game for a while, because I made a video about this game some time ago, and I was straight up smoking crack when I made that video. I said I did not like the game, because it is just not Xenoblade, and I still agree with that. But I was definitely really mean to the game. I made fun of a lot of things in the game because it simply wasn't the original. And while this game still has problems, and while there's I still agree with half of that video, there are a lot of things I want to rectify by saying that I actually do like about this game. And to make up for it, I think I'm going to just front load me talking about this game with all the complaints I have, and then I'm going to be positive about it. So let me start by saying that my big complaint about this game is that the story is still just super mid. This is one of the most mid stories to ever exist. It's just whatever. I don't really care about the characters, the stakes, the environment, anything like that. This game is definitely gameplay oriented. It wants you to just play the game and not really think about the story, and that's fine. But again, it is called Xenoblade Chronicles, and Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 also, they have really good stories. And then you pair it, and then you just have X right here, which is kind of it makes it a lot harder to get into the story and judge it fairly when you have such a high pedigree, Also, I still think that this game has a huge power creep problem where the early game is such a slog to get through, and then the second you get a skill, the game becomes piss easy. Because from there, how powerful your main character gets throughout this game is an exponential graph. You start off really slow, and then you hit chapter 7, and then it just goes straight up. It just completely goes up. Another big complaint I have is that Lin and Tatsu, anytime they open their mouths, I want to shove 2 pencils up my nose and headbutt my desk. They are not good characters. They are very annoying. They are lazy. They're not funny in the slightest. They are probably one of the least unfunny video game characters in the world. I do not like them at all. Please stop talking, both of them. I also think that these are easily some of the weakest villains in all of gaming history, which is saying something because Mobius are kind of boring. But, at least in Xenoblade 3, it gets personal near the end. There's also just a lot of useless, unnecessary cutscenes that make the game super slow. Of just, if you're in the middle of a main story mission and you're, progressing through an area, sometimes the game will just stop you, play a cutscene, just to, convey information that you already know, as if to remind you it's fucking Netflix dialogue. Completely useless. I also think that once again the music is very hit or miss. I really like the main battle theme, the tyrant theme, and stuff like that. But then you have the new LA's theme. I never liked it. I also think that Primordia's theme is really lame, especially compared to Noctilum and Oblivia's and Sylvalum's, and actually I don't really remember much of the Cauldros theme. I also think that the tutorials are low-key kind of bad because they just smother you with a big wall of text of information, and then they just leave you be. Granted, you can bring them back up at any time and reread them, but it's still, I feel like the game could do better at teaching you the game. Let's see, I still hate the TP system. I still hate that enemies that are level 20 whole levels below me will still get angry at me and chase me to the ends of the earth, and killing it can just be such a hassle. I also think that still being locked to Elma and Lyn is annoying, especially since I just want to kill Lyn and Tatsu a kajillion times over. I also feel that towards the late game, it's very demanding of like high gear and skills, but the game doesn't really do a good job at explaining how to properly utilize Frontier Nav to you, that it's just a real bitch to grind for. You can easily get fucked over by that. You kind of have to like know what you're doing with Frontier Nav in order to like really succeed in the late game if you just don't want to grind for like a few hours, which is really annoying. I still think that the final boss and the lore dumps at the end of the game are still dumb as fuck, and that overall the ending of the base game is in general is pretty ass, and the big mystery cliffhanger ending still does not get explained. It's still just something about this planet. You do not get an explanation for that. The new shit that they added to the game completely pivots to something else entirely. Also, speaking of the new voice lines, the mic quality for them and like the overall voice performances are very mixed. Like, there's some weird mixing. They're definitely like, this was definitely a paycheck to them when it came to the new voice lines. It feels very uncanny at times. Speaking of the new stuff, there's some really dumb shit where the bad guy keeps winning because nobody in the cutscenes are doing anything, which is really annoying and it pisses me off a lot. It also is very confusing where like the game has 12 main story chapters, and so that for the new chapters they just made it chapter 13 act 1, 2, and 3 instead of chapters 13, 14, and 15. I feel like it'd just be, 15's a more whole number. I just feel like it'd be cooler if you did that. And also, the new area they added is just for Chapter 13, Act 3. Act 1 and 2 is still just in the main game world, which is kind of weird, but whatever. That being said, it is now time to be positive. I'm going to be nice to this game now, because music is very hit or miss. And that being said, when it hits, though, it fucking hits. These are some of the greatest songs in all video game history when they are good. I love that. I also fuck with the new area a lot. I really like it. It's very pretty and very cool to explore. It sucks that you can only be there for Chapter 13, Act 3, and if you want to ever re-explore it, you have to do the entire 3-act chapter of Chapter 13 all over again, which is a little lame, but whatever, fine. You can speedrun them when you skip the cutscenes. It's fine. I do really like the new area they added. It looks very fun. It's very pretty. I like the new music. It's cool. And overall, the late and post game is still just incredibly fun. What makes this game so good is that once you hit like late game, post game, there's just so much to do that like the game encourages exploration so much, and it's so rewarding. Not only intrinsically with the areas that you explore, like, because they're just so fucking pretty. Like, again, this game has such a good designed world that Nintendo poached half the staff to go work on Breath of the Wild's world, which ended up being way more inferior to this game's world. But there's just something to do in literally like every little nook and cranny of this map, which is very good. The customization is also crazy. There's a lot of play styles, and the game encourages you to do all of them. That being said, the longsword dual gun build is still broken, even more so. They added more arts to the game to make them even more broken. It's also so much easier to customize your party, because originally in the original version of the game, you would have to go find a party member out in the game world and like talk to them and switch them into your party, like in the massive city that's the hub world. But in this game, they just made it's a simple pause menu option. You pause, you press change party members, and you just put them in. It's that easy. They also added reserve XP for the party members, thank fucking God. Also, from the original game, I actually really like the affinity mission system and the requirements, since it fleshes things out more. It forces you to spend time with some of the party members before the major story missions. I like that a lot. I also really like how they improved the UI in Definitive Edition, because in the original Wii U Xenoblade X, the UI was a fucking nightmare, and thankfully they made it so much better in Definitive Edition. I like this trend of fixing terrible UIs in the Definitive Editions of Xenoblade games. I also think that the quick cooldown system they added is such a godsend, because in the game you have arts, and arts go on cooldown a lot, and with this game particularly, waiting for the cooldown to end was so painful. But with quick cooldown, you have a little bar, and you spend some of that to just immediately use an art again, and it makes the game so much more smooth It makes the game so much more fast-paced. It makes it so much more worth it to actually fight. It was a good decision. I really like it. Also, again, the world design and exploration very much encouraged, and thankfully it's very good. I think this game does like open world design the best compared to like stuff like Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild. And I like Elden Ring's open world. I like exploring it. It was cool. But I think this game just gets it right. It has that formula down. I have no complaints with it at all, and it was very fun. Also, I think that compared to Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring, this game has a much better sense of spectacle when it comes to the open world design. You feel a lot more taken in and like think like, holy shit, this site is amazing. I want to live here. That being said, what the fuck is going on with the epilogue? What's going on with chapter 13? What's going on? First of all, this like new villain just shows up and he goes, "You will come to my abode." Like that being dead serious. There's like he says, "You will come," and then there's like a huge pause, and then he just says, "To my abode." I was laughing out loud at that.
In any case, you will come to my abode.
It's like some Letterkenny fucking dialogue. There's also this new character who gets introduced named Al. His name is Al Xenoblade. And I like him a lot. He's built up to be this like great war hero who went mysteriously missing, and then he shows up and he turns out to just be a normal fucking guy. Like he's one of the most normal, chill ass fucking guys around. Like he has this weird inside joke, that like bit thing going on that nobody really gets, and it's like only funny to him. And I kind of like how he's like pathetically trying to defend it. It's so dumb. He's just I like him a lot because he's just a normal fucking guy. Also, the final boss is still easy if you have your broken builds, your standard broken builds. Like I had an Ares 90 going into the last chapter, and I one-shot the final boss. That being said, what the fuck is going on with the new ending of Definitive Edition? What are you cooking, Takahashi? What are you doing? You're scaring me. You're scaring me, but in a good way. It also reminds me that I really, really, really need to play Xenosaga. I have not played Xenosaga. I played Xenogears. I played every Xenoblade game, but I have not played the Xenosaga trilogy, and I need to do that now. And honestly, lastly, the thing I just want to say is that after clearing the game, you get this fancy tile screen that shows everybody in your active party. And like the more party members that you get, because a lot of them are optional, the more will show up on that title screen. I like that a lot. I think that's really neat. They also show up in the armor you equip them with. So I really like that. Overall, I think this game makes Definitive Edition way easier to get into. It makes it a lot more worth it, a lot more playable. Because getting into Xenoblade X on Wii U, it's very complicated. It's a very complex game, and this makes it actually good. Like, way more easier to get into, and I like that a lot. I think this is a good ass upgrade, and it's definitely the definitive way to play this game. I'm not going to talk a lot about this next game because I already talked about it, but the next game I played came out the same day as Definitive Edition, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, and that is Psycho Patrol R. But again, I already made a video talking about it. So overall, this game is very weird, as is to be expected from Consumer Soft Products, same developer as Cruelty Squad. And again, please give me a grain of salt here. Take whatever I say with a grain of salt, because the game is still in very early access and a lot is going to be bound to change, and I'm totally okay with that. But I'm just going to be talking about the game as I played it at launch. Like, there was more shit added into the game that I haven't played since. So definitely, the game is definitely, it's very similar, but also not similar to Cruelty Squad. Instead of these implants that like drastically change the way you play the game, you instead have this giant mech that you pilot, and like you're so fucking fragile outside of the mech, and you're very not fragile in the mech. It definitely, I think he's definitely cooking something, trying to make you feel powerful in that mech. As is to be expected, the game is very based in political satire. It makes politics seem like a fucking joke, but like in a good way. But it also like actually makes it way more confusing, because like with Cruelty Squad, honestly, the message that game is trying to push is very straightforward with how it makes fun of politics. But in this game, it actually takes it's a little bit more confusing to like wrap your head around everything with the main story, because like the main story is a lot more based in real life. There's a lot more like it's a lot more about bureaucracy and red tape holding everything down and being really stupid and annoying. And also like the main plot is investigating a weird mass panic that happened over chemicals put in shampoo. honestly, I don't want to spend too much time on it because, again, I made a video. I'll link it in the description. But my conclusion statement is that as it is right now, I do not think it warrants the $40 price tag. So maybe wait until the game actually has enough content that warrants that price tag, or just buy it now as an early investment, but maybe wait for the actual game to be finished. But I think when it will be finished, it'll absolutely be worth it. I like where it's going. It's just too early to like tell, but it was a fun time playing. Next I played Pikmin², which is a remake of Pikmin 1 within Pikmin 2. It's a ROM hack of Pikmin 2 to basically be playing all of Pikmin 1, but it also comes with a lot of extra things like built-in randomizer mode, a new Louie side story, solo adventure that's really cool. But generally, when it comes to the Pikmin 1 experience, overall, it's definitely the best way to play Pikmin 1. It has so many quality of life improvements, it's nowhere near as buggy, and it plays as good as Pikmin 2, and if you like Pikmin 2, then you'll like Pikmin 1. Pikmin², I mean. Granted, it is for the GameCube version, there is no Wii. Like, you can't play the Wii version of Pikmin 2 and then, like, put it into that and play the Wii version of Pikmin 1 in Pikmin 2, if that makes sense. Overall, though, Pikmin², it was a fun time. It was a fun, like, 4-hour playthrough for both campaigns. I had a lot of fun. I think it is the new best way to play Pikmin 1. So if you ever want to get into Pikmin, I'd say start with Pikmin². After Pikmin², I decided to finally delve into a trilogy of games I've been meaning to get into for a very long time. And I actually tried way earlier, last year I tried getting into it, but just couldn't. But this year I decided to bite the bullet and I finally fully played the Operation Rainfall games, starting with The Last Story. Operation Rainfall was the 3 RPGs released on the Wii that came out and to only Japan and Europe, and America got nothing, so fans campaigned to bring it to America, and Nintendo actually decided to listen. And The Last Story was specifically made by Mistwalker, which was headed by Mr. Final Fantasy himself, Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creators, the lead behind Final Fantasies 1 through 9, before he left Square Enix. That being said, I need to first explain what a fucking pain in the ass getting this game to run is, because spoilers, I didn't want to pay $200 for a physical Wii copy. So obviously I'm going to try and emulate it, right? Thankfully, I had a friend who allowed me to borrow a disc copy of the game for me to ROM dump into my computer, and I did ROM dump. But after I had the ROM, getting it to run on Dolphin was absolutely impossible. It was bogged down by so many visual bugs, and frame stutters, and audio chugging, and computer chugging. Apparently, this game is the hardest game to get Dolphin to run. It is the most pain-in-the-ass Wii game to run in the world. I hated every second of fighting Dolphin to get this game to run, and unfortunately, my thoughts on this game are now biased by that. So, trying to be as fair as possible, let's talk about this game. For a game called The Last Story, the story is about a group of mercenaries trying to achieve knighthood on an island nation and a blossoming love between a lowly mercenary commoner and a noble woman. And frankly, I think the dialogue is good, but the plot is mid, which is very rare because normally the plot is good, but the dialogue is mid. I think what the characters have to say and convey is very interesting, but the actual overall plot, it's really generic and kind of boring. It's not boring, but like you see every twist coming. It's very obvious where the story goes, and it's pretty generic. It's nothing grand. I don't think it's anywhere. It's nowhere near the levels of the stories of like Final Fantasy 9 or 7 or 6. It's just very predictable and whatever, you know? So for a game called The Last Story, it's pretty unfortunate that the story is mid. And frankly, the only chapters of the game that aren't like predictable and like kind of like, oh, I know where this is going, are the wacky fun side adventures. So, but that being said, at least this game is willing to get kind of silly with it. I really like that like one side mission where your party just goes through a fucking haunted mansion and like get picked off one by one, like in like Scooby-Doo level escapades. The game is willing to get silly with it, and I feel like it balances that with the actual like, with the way the narrative is trying to, the main narrative is trying to go. Like I feel like it balances that pretty well. That being said, when it comes to the actual main narrative, it kind of feels like the story is just separated into like all these disconnected arcs that only really kind of come together like near the very end. like it feels like the game has all these disconnected arcs that just so happen to take place on this island and are just like they're kind of like scattered in order. It's very strange for me personally. That being said, things definitely do ramp up for the finale chapters, and I do appreciate that. But before that, it's just really hard to see where the story is kind of like going overall. Like you can like when you're playing a chapter and you're like going into a location, you're like, okay, so this is probably gonna. I say it's predictable because like, okay, I'm in this cave. I think that this is going to happen in the cave, and then that thing happens. But in terms of like the overall narrative, it's kind of hard to see where things are going because like you want it to not be predictable, but it ends up being predictable, but not in the same way. If that makes sense, it's very hard to explain. The plot is so meddling, I swear. Also, that being said, after the final boss, there are post-game chapters that are optional. And also, I didn't play them because I didn't want to deal with Dolphin again. But I looked them up on YouTube, and one of them, at least, should be 100% required to play. Like, you would be missing the entire point of the last story, the story of the last story, without playing this post-game chapter. Side note, you access these chapters just by finding your main party in the town and just talking to them. Speaking of the main party and just the core cast in general, I like them. I like this party. You can definitely tell that they like get along well, that they're friends. With the exception of Yurik. I think Yurik is a whiny little brat. I do not like him. He's stinky, and yeah, I don't like him. I think he's very like bratty to the party, and he's very uncooperative to a game where these mercenaries it looks like they kind of have to be cooperative if they want to live this harsh life. That being said, some of the villain characters are really stupid. Like, there's this big main villain, Zangarak. He's fine. But then there's, like, what's his name? Geralt. He's voiced by Ivalice from Xenoblade. Yeah, fuck that guy. He's dumb, stupid, and I hate their women and their children, too. I didn't like anything with him. He just felt like a distraction from the story that I actually cared about. Again, disconnected arcs that just kind of happen on the same island. I also like how the party will often, like, converse while moving in gameplay. But unfortunately, the conversations do not end before I get to the next destination, so it just gets cut off, and sometimes it's story-relevant stuff, which is... It's so fucking frustrating, because I want to hear it, but, like, I don't know when the next story set piece is gonna be, so I'm just gonna keep walking, so, like, I have to, like, just fucking lay my controller down and just, like, listen to them yapping. But it's not as cool, it's not as immersive or cinematic or cool, like anything like that. It's really annoying. I don't like that. It's so dumb and mean and stupid. So overall, I think the story is mid, and frankly, so are some of the characters, because like I think the main cast is really good, but the side characters, I don't really care for. And like the villain character, I get what he is, what he's trying to do, and I like it, but I just feel like he could have used more meat to him. In terms of the gameplay, the combat is weird as fuck, but overall, I actually like it. Mr. Final Fantasy was hoping to kind of like innovate RPG combat as we know it with this game, and he tries, but he did not succeed, as is evident by this game not really taking off. But also just I like the combat of this game, but I like some turn-based games I think would fit better here with their combat systems, and it has problems. It also just takes a while for all the mechanics of this combat to be introduced, which sucks, because like once you have the full combat, it kind of clicks for you, and like you can get things done and actually have like a cool time. But in the meantime, you're just walking up to an enemy. Okay, the way this combat works is that you just walk up to an enemy, and your characters will automatically attack, right? Which, fine, whatever. But there's not much to do outside of that. So it's not much to do outside of that until you unlock the full combat. Like, so for like the entire first half of the game, you're just walking up to enemies and occasionally pressing L to take all the fucking attention from them, because L like attracts all enemies towards you away from your party members, so you can allow them to like cast spells and stuff, because Zale himself cannot cast spells. Which like, and I really like how the game tries to introduce this like strategical, like kind of TRPG kind of like way of thinking with the combat and like how you command your party. But so you can sometimes give orders to your party, but it takes like a bar that charges over time. So when they're not charging over time and they're just doing whatever the fuck they want, Sometimes your party members can be so fucking stupid with their AI. Sometimes they will intentionally use a spell that has healed the boss before. They should know that this spell, that they absorb fire, but they'll still cast a fire spell on the boss that absorbs fire and takes health from it. They are sometimes so stupid. And also, the directional input thing sucks in crowded rooms, especially in crowded rooms. So because you're just pointing the stick towards the enemy you want to attack, sometimes Zale will just start attacking wildly when you're like doing a time-sensitive thing where you have to reach a certain location and are just flooded by enemies and like you're supposed to walk past the enemies. But sometimes the enemies form a straight wall around you and you're just attacking them when you're just trying to move past them. So you have to switch the game. In options, there is a game called there's an option called Combat Style Manual, and where you just press A button to attack. Just do that. Just do that. I also think that the fight with the final boss was really stupid. Didn't like it at all. It was something, and it had a twist, but that twist was very predictable, and it also feels very underdeveloped, and it was just annoying to deal with. The boss was just, for the entire final boss, you're literally just spamming healing spells and just wailing on it. As for the game world itself, the environments are kind of impressive for the Wii, especially for the Wii actually, but the color palette is very samey. It's a lot of grays and earth tones. And I really like for there to be a lot more color introduced into the game. That being said, the levels for being linear they're pretty decent with their design, both game wise and like lore wise. Overall, like the kind of like level structure system, whatever. It definitely gives the game a very unique identity that I actually don't mind at all. I think it's cool that other than like the main hub that is the Lazarus Island, how all the like adventures you go on are just like linear path levels. I think that's actually really good because they are, one, well designed, and two, unique for RPGs. But now it is time to discuss the Reptids, because unfortunately this game suffers from the same problem that Metaphor does. So in the game, there are humans and there's this like race of like stone people called the Garak, and they do not get along because they had a war and like the Garak were exiled, and like the main conflict is that the Garak invade and like try and kill all the humans. And the plot is you trying to stop the Garak, and ultimately it ends with like the Garak and the humans coming together to find peace, right? And that's fine. Stories have been done like that before. Totally fine. I have no problem with it. But then there's the Reptids. The Reptids are like these weird lizard people that you fight for like the first few chapters of the game and then you completely forget about them. But in side quest, you learn that they are capable of intelligent speech and thought, and you still kill them discriminately. If Zale is going to advocate for the Garak to be on equal level as humans, but not Reptids, a species capable of intelligent speech, he is just being a massive fucking hypocrite, and your entire view of this world completely falls apart. Furthermore, in one of the bonus chapters, the post-game chapters, he is willing to start a game to see who can kill the most. What the actual It is the same issue with Metaphor. You cannot preach an egalitarian idea and then create an exception just because you need filler enemies for your video game. Do not make them capable of intelligent speech, and this wouldn't be a problem. As for miscellaneous notes, the music kind of slaps, pretty good. It's like definitely really good, very atmospheric. I like it a lot. The voice cast is decent, but there are many times where it can be quite awkward with their line delivery. I also really wish the game had a fast travel system throughout the town. It's kind of annoying to walk through the entire time, especially for the parts of the town that will absolutely cause your computer to chug because there's just too many NPCs. But little did I know, the game actually does have a fast travel system. It just took me forever to find, probably because I skipped the tutorial or something, because I played the start of this game so many times throughout the years, but this time I actually played past the tutorial and actually beat the game. I also really like how the title screen will change depending on where you are in the story. Something that, it's actually something that the game shamelessly stole from Xenoblade 2 6 years in the past. That being said, holy fuck, the camera is so ass in this game. It's way too zoomed in. It's very rigid when you're trying to turn it. Not a good camera in the slightest. I do not like this camera. Also, back to the voice cast actually real quickly. Some of the extras have like better voice performances than the main cast. What's going on? What's going on, game? Come on. What's going on? Why are you so meddling? That being said, for being an RPG made by Mr. Final Fantasy himself, it is very pleasing that there was no last minute God was the enemy all along twist. Because again, I'm just getting very tired of that, and thankfully, this isn't the case. We don't have all of a sudden, oh no, God was the bad guy all along. The game, the final boss is weird. It is like a cosmic being, but it is not like God. I also just really like the lore of the game, and I think it surprisingly leaves a lot for a sequel, but I know that Mr. Final Fantasy isn't about that life, so whatever. I also really like how most of the game actually takes place entirely on this like one island, and it isn't like some grand world odyssey, so it makes you feel very attached to the island and its inhabitants, and yeah, I like that a lot. But the one big problem of this game is that again, running it on Dolphin sucks, and this would have been fixed if you could just port the game to a modern console. All that had to be done was porting the game to a modern console. It doesn't require motion controls because it was all, it's on the Wii, but it's entirely done with classic controls. A classic controller. It's very, it's nowhere near as demanding of motion controls as, say, Pandora's Tower, which we will talk about in a second, but there's no modern port of this game. Just bring it to modern consoles, that's all I ask. So yeah, in conclusion, the game is 100% a flawed masterpiece, and although it's not the best Sakaguchi has made, it's still pretty alright. It's just nowhere like near my top 5 Final Fantasies. And when the game works, it's good. The biggest legit complaint I have is that the camera is god-awful, low-key. But still, I still liked it, and I'm overall glad I enjoyed it. But still, what about the fucking Raptids? But now, it is time to talk about the other Operation Rainfall game that I played immediately after Last Story. And as a whole, it is much more focused than The Last Story, or Xenoblade. It's way more focused on what it's trying to do, and I like this game a lot. I so very much enjoyed Pandora's Tower. In terms of the story, basically, you play as a dude from a nation, okay, so the game takes place in this country, and this country is at war with another country, and you play as a dude from the country that the country is at war with. But you are, your girlfriend that you love very dearly is a native of the country that you're currently in, and she is all of a sudden afflicted with a curse that turns her into a beast. So you go to this place called the 13 Towers in order to get beast flesh to feed to her to help cure her curse. That being said, the story isn't just going to a tower to cure your girlfriend. It is also 100% a love story, and a pretty good one at that. It shows how, I think it goes really well to show how war can tear families apart, and that love is ultimately stronger than war. It also shows how sometimes that you need to be incredibly dedicated to take care of the ones you love when they're sick. And that leads me to think, I think that, I don't know for certain, this is completely just speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if the game was inspired by, the lead developer having to, take care of a really sick spouse for a time, because that's what it fucking feels like, having to take care of Elena as you grow attached to her. The story of this game is stupid simple, but it knows what it's doing, and it does that really well. In terms of character, Aaron is a nothing burger of a protagonist. He has an interesting backstory, but, he barely fucking speaks. He has, no character. Mavda, on the other hand, is interesting. She's very steeped in mystery. I wish she got more time to actually, be more than the merchant, but let's be real, what the fuck is her deal? But she's cool. I like her a lot. Elena, on the other hand. Oh my god. Oh my god. For being a virtual girlfriend, she's really good at it. I'm so fucking whipped for her. If you want an example of that, just watch the Let's Play on my second channel. By the way, on my second channel, I like this game so much that on the second channel, I'm doing a Let's Play of it with my friend Venforia, where he plays the game for the first time, and I just sort of backseat him, and we just talk about stuff. But, throughout that entire Let's Play, me and him, we fall for her pretty badly.
We've never been alone like this before, have we? Back in the village, my mother, or someone was always there. Oh gosh, I think I'm blushing.
Okay, never mind. I can see what you said for her now.
You get it.
I get it.
I also like that Elena has her own schedule that she abides by. The game has a clock system, and she's gonna do a different activity every hour. And it's very fun to spend an entire day with her, seeing how dynamic and well that she's handled in terms of that gameplay wise. And it's crazy just how many dynamic interactions there are with Elena just by doing specific shit, gifting her coins, having her break a gift by accident, not taking any damage in the towers, etc. like that. And it's also just nice to see a relationship so strong in a video game. It's from the get-go. From the get-go, you can tell that these two fucking love each other. And the conflict doesn't arise from like a question in the faith of their relationship, but instead how like willing they are to just completely throw their lives away for the sake of the other. It has been such a long time since I've made such a big effort to get the best ending of a game, but Elena makes it 100% worth it. In terms of the gameplay, which is a lot more important to this game than Xenoblade or the last story, I love the gameplay loop. Oh my god. So you get your main weapon, which is like a sword or like these daggers or scythe. You can change it, but who cares about that? Like, there's this cool combo system, but I feel like it's not expanded upon enough. But instead you have this chain. You can do so much with this chain. It is so incredibly insane how much you can do with this chain. Very dynamic, very well handled. I like the chain a lot. My only problem is that I just wish you could integrate more chain weapon combos, like slashing the sword, and then maybe like the chain does something cool when you do that. I wish there was more of that a lot with the combat. The combat can feel really lacking because you're just chaining enemies to death. Granted, you can do a lot to do with the chain to kill enemies. There's a lot of different ways to kill the enemies with the chain, and there's a lot of puzzles to solve with the chain. But there's not much to do with your sword or your scythe or your daggers, and I wish there was a lot more you could do with that. And granted, you can do so much with the chain, but sometimes the swinging, because obviously you're gonna swing from a chain, sometimes it can be very jank. I wish that was definitely like it feels very clunky. I feel like it could be a lot more smooth. I also, the boss fights in this game, I also wish they had a lot more pizzazz to them, because a lot of them are just like more like Zelda bosses, where it's kind of like a puzzle you gotta solve. But like it's not like a 3-cycle thing with classic Zelda bosses. Instead, it's just keep doing it until the health bar is all the way down. And for being like puzzle bosses, a lot of them can also just be hit or miss. Some of them are infuriatingly frustrating to deal with, and others are way too easy to deal with. And some are actually pretty good. There's like 2 bosses in this game that are actually really, really good, and I like a lot. But the rest, they can be very hit or miss, That being said, the final boss, at least for the best ending, was really rad in terms of the mechanics and the music and the aesthetics and shit. And I say for the best ending because, believe it or not, I think this is really cool. Depending on what ending you get, the final boss can actually be very drastically different, which is actually kind of cool to know, and it actually encourages you to like replay this game a lot. And this is a lengthy game; it's like 20 hours per playthrough. So, that being said, the time management thing is also very interesting, and it makes you feel very stressful. In this game, your girlfriend's cursed. She is going to turn into a beast if you do not keep feeding her flesh. So you go into the tower to get flesh, and then you come back to give it to her. But you can't stockpile flesh. Like, once you give it to her, and if you go back to the tower, it will go bad. So you have to sell any excess flesh. And when you're in the towers, you are on a timer. If you let it go down, you get a game over because your girlfriend turns into a monster. Which actually, it makes this game so interesting. It makes it so cool and unique. And like, unlike, say, Pikmin, where the timeline is a lot more forgiving than you think, this game actually makes you feel pretty stressed. You feel you can. It's very rare that you can complete an entire tower in one go. By the way, it's called Pandora's Tower, but there's multiple towers. It's very good. When you're not in the towers, you're actually in this like main hub that's just called the Observatory, because it's just an abandoned observatory you're taking shelter in. But there's you obviously spend a lot of time with Elena there, and also it's you can customize it a lot, like a lot more than you think, and it's very fun to like just play home husband with your girlfriend in the observatory while you're not going to the towers. And frankly, I actually do really like the multiple weapons that there are, and like with the different movesets they have in the game, and like they're very unique, especially the scythe. Oh my god, I love the scythe. It's so cool. But I just wish there were more. I just wish there were more to it. Like, I don't know how to feel, and also I don't feel how to about like one of the weapons being New Game Plus exclusive, because spoilers, there's a stake driver, which is really cool, but it's New Game Plus exclusive, so that sucks. That being said, the scythe is still the best weapon in the game. Also, the cursor that you use to like lock onto things with the chain, I really wish it had at least a tiny bit of auto lock on. There is no lock onto it whatsoever. It's kind of annoying. I really wish there was just a little bit, because sometimes it can be really finicky, especially on classic controller, where it's a lot slower because you control it with the right stick on the classic controller. And I really wish that it had a little bit of lock on, because it moves very slow, but the enemies are going to move very fast. Not fun. Also, sometimes the cursor needs to be on a target for a hot second before registering that like you can actually shoot the chain at it, which is so fucking annoying, especially with fast moving targets, especially when you're like being chased down by enemies and you're just trying to walk past. Also, the jumping in this game is very, very finicky as well. It's the same, like, it's like classic style Zelda jumping where you just walk up to a ledge and Aaron will automatically jump, but it's very finicky. And sometimes instead of jumping off a ledge, he will instead just dangle off of it. He'll just hang off of it, which is really annoying, especially when you're on a time limit. It can be very annoying. I'm not a big fan. I wish there was just a manual jump button. In terms of the world, there's not like a world to explore. Instead, you're going through these towers and the observatory, and that's it. But that being said, it is very tight. The level design is very tight. The time mechanic is interesting. So you make so you have to like be careful about where you're going, where and when you're going, because also sometimes rare things will happen depending on what time of the day you enter the towers, which is very interesting, and I like that a lot. Also, like the last story, despite spending most of the game in one location, there's a lot of world building, way more than the last story, honestly. Even though the game has 3 characters: Mavda, Elena, and Aaron, and that's it. There are 3 characters in the game, and that's it. Despite that, there's a lot of world, like the world feels very real, despite taking place in a small little thing. It's very good at what it does. I also like the second half of the game with the mirrored towers. They're very interesting. Basically, there's like, the towers are based off of these like, the elements, there's like the wood, earth, fire, metal, water, and then like the next 5 towers are going to be mirrors of that. But like, it doesn't feel like you're just doing the same dungeon, but more. They still feel very unique, just like a different flavor. It's less like you're doing the same tower, but more like you're doing a Master Quest version of it. And then the last 2 towers are super fucking dope. The light and dark towers. I think that is really cool. They have a gimmick that I feel they could have explained a bit more, but that's totally fine. Because once you understand, it's really cool. As for any miscellaneous notes, it's definitely the best looking of the Rainfall trilogy in terms of like graphical style. Obviously, like Xenoblade nowadays looks prettier because it has Definitive Edition, but like when talking about Wii Xenoblade, of the 3 games put together, I think that this one looks the best. The music is fucking rad, really good. It has fixed camera angles, and they're actually pretty good. I like the fixed camera angles of this game a lot. There's only a few that are like stinkers, but it's nothing as like clunky as like original Silent Hill 2. I'm also surprised how optimized this game is, not in terms of like performance or anything, but optimized in the sense of like the game knows what it wants to do, so it has all like the quality of life features that you would want to accomplish that. Like there's very few complaints I have in terms of like quality of life changes I would make if this game were to be remastered, which hopefully it will be. If I were to make any complaint, I really wish the game would tell you what time it is while you're in the towers, because you kind of just have to go based off of guesswork. You know what time you enter the towers, but you never know what time you're going to leave the towers. The only indicator you get is that a bell will toll when it's 12 p.m. or a.m. The game has very interesting lore, and I really like that. That being said, not being able to repair something until it breaks is really stupid. I wish that would be changed. Your items can break from getting too much damage from enemies, but you can't like repair. They don't have like a durability bar, or like you can't repair them like when they're halfway broken. You have to wait until they're broken before you can go and repair them. In conclusion, the ending twist for the S rank ending was crazy. I really like that, and also I just gotta say, my apologies, Mavda. I was not familiar with your game, but genuinely, this was a stellar game, and I'm very upset I didn't play it sooner. Moving on to the next thing, this was a birthday gift that I played because I knew it was pretty short, but it still took me a little while to beat it. Next, we are talking about Signalis. I'm gonna do things a little out of order for this one. I'm gonna talk about like the story last, I think. Can I stop hiccuping? Let's start with like miscellaneous stuff. I fuck with the art style and presentation so hard. This game has a very strong art direction, and it is done so well. The game looks so good. I also like, the game is also definitely heavily inspired by Resident Evil, and like it wears the inspiration for what Resident Evil it has on its sleeve. And I like it a lot because it still feels very unique, but you feel the Resident Evil influence, but you still feel the identity of this game as well. It has its own unique identity while still paying homage to classic Resident Evil, and I like it a lot. And overall, I'd say it is a very fun survival horror experience. Every now and then the game will switch to a first-person view, and I fuck with those segments hard. They're very artsy, very weird and abstract, and I like them a lot. That being said, I just wish you could walk faster. in the first person bits, because like real people do not walk as slow as you do in those moments. It's really stupid. There's also a radio in the game that like you have to sometimes solve puzzles with it by changing it to a different frequency, and sometimes it feels very wonky and slow to do. I wish the little dial would just go way faster. Really pisses me off. I also wish that the radio would also just be used more, and also alongside not being a hassle to use, I wish it could be used more, because sometimes in puzzles that use the radio, I forgot, like, sometimes the solution is just to remember that the radio exists. It's like in Breath of the Wild where there's like puzzles with cryosis, whatever that ability is called, where like the whole thing is just you need to remember that it exists. I also hate having to talk to NPCs in this game multiple times in a row. Like, your main character isn't like saying anything back, and they're not like asking you to do anything in between their conversations. You just have to talk to them multiple times. So just like, I just say, let them yap. Just let them yap. Also, let me skip cutscenes, because sometimes I'll die in a boss fight, and I have to watch a really long cutscene again, and I don't like it. This is not even like a trumpet. This is kind of like the cadence of trumpet. It's not his voice. Gameplay-wise, I really wish I could change what way I'm aiming with my mouse cursor in the tank control mode. That's like one of my big major complaints, because like you can aim with your mouse, but it's not like tank controls, and I like tank controls when I play classic Resident Evil, so I thought I'd feel at home if I did that with this, but not the case at all. With tank controls, you are playing with that fucking keyboard and you're sticking with it. Also, the first boss of this game is a gank fight. Derogatory. I hate that shit. I do not like it at all. It's stupid and dumb and I hate it. Also, there is a revolver that is completely loaded that you see. It's teased throughout the entire level, but you cannot come back to unlock it. It is genuinely misleading. The revolver you get in the game is got way later on in a different area, and that is so dumb. That is so dumb and stupid, and that is genuinely not good game design, especially for a game like that follows a classic Resident Evil formula. It also baffles me that for the entire second area, for all of Chapter 2, there is just no map. That makes no sense to me. I do not like that at all. Also, boss number 2 is pretty shit. It is just a bloated timer, and so the boss will eventually die no matter what you do, but damaging it will decrease the timer. So in a game where saving resources is heavily encouraged, because, you know, survival horror and all that, the game essentially encourages you to just run around the arena like a jackass until that time limit is up and the thing dies. It's the same with like the first fight with Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2. Like, yeah, shooting him makes him go way faster, but like, you know, in a survival horror game, you just want to save resources. Also, it seems a lot of times that the hearing range of enemies is very inconsistent. You can do a lot of stealth in the game because like the second you run, they'll hear you, but like if you're just gonna walk past enemies, you can actually get by pretty easily, like stealthily. But at times it feels like I could be on the opposite side of the room and like they'll fucking hear me. But then other times I'll go right next to them and they just will not see or hear me in the slightest. It feels very inconsistent. I also think that the rule of 6 thing is absolutely stupid. This game has like a whole thematic thing with this idea of the rule of 6, so you only have 6 inventory slots, but it is so not fun to deal with, since half your inventory will most likely be taken up by your gun, ammo, and probably something else, whether it be another weapon or like a puzzle important thing. So when you come across all these healing items and stuff like that, you can't pick them up because you only have 6 inventory slots, and you're gonna have to constantly go back to a save room to deposit all of it into storage. But thankfully, the game has an option that just increases your inventory to like 9 or 10, which makes it so much more balanced. It just makes it so much better. Thank you, game, for adding this. And also, the flashlight also does not take up an inventory slot. And apparently, both the 9 inventory slot option and the flashlight not taking up a slot, those are both added into the game. So like, granted, thank you for doing that, but at the same time, fuck you for originally not doing that. Oh my god. So yeah, do yourself a favor and turn on that option to have more inventory, because it is it just makes the game better all around. Also, the final boss, I think, okay, there's only 3 bosses in the game, and the first 2 are absolute shit, and then there's the final boss. But I actually really liked the final boss. I liked it a lot, and overall, the last area of the game I actually didn't mind. I think it's, honestly, the best area of the game, honestly. In terms of the game world, the level design is really cool. Again, very reminiscent of OG Resident Evil, but with a sci-fi twist. And I'd say chapters 1 and 3 are on the same level of the like PS1 Resident Evil 2 in terms of like the level design. In terms of Chapter 2, on the other hand, piece of shit. Fuck that place. The devs are assholes, and I hate their women and their children too. Also, sometimes it feels like there's lag in the main menu. Just in the main menu for some reason. I never understood that, but it happens. There's like weird lag and I don't like it. Fuck. Now it's time to talk about the story, because the story's really dumb, and I have a lot to yap about. So I fuck with the visual presentation of these sequences so hard, but I just do not care because I don't know what's going on. And if you want to understand what's going on in this story, you have to do some lore scholaring, which is just so lame. And let's be real, it's for nerds. You know, the final boss was actually pretty good, and I didn't mind the final area overall. But I swear to God, like, it's so unclear what the motive is, and it's so, and it, like, I fuck with it when I learn it, but I have to, you so badly wish that it was handled better. Okay, let me make things clear for you, for anybody who's a fan of Signalis, of this game, and with fucking Hollow Knight, with any game that has a very weird, cryptic story that you have to unravel. The problem with being drip-fed a story like that is that you'll see a cutscene and understand absolutely nothing. It might be presented in a really cool way that makes you go, okay, that was a cool sequence, I like that. But you still do not get it. You don't understand the meaning behind it. So then you go out and you find the lore, and you piece it together, you find out what's going on with that cutscene, and you think, oh, that's cool, okay? That's kind of cool. But you then realize that if you just got the lore in the first place, the emotional impact of that cutscene would just hit so much harder. But then you kind of realize that if you had the lore beforehand and understood the cutscene as you were watching it, then the emotional impact the cutscene gives you would have been way more powerful, more resonant. It would have hit a lot harder. And when you receive a big lore dump at the very end of the game, it just comes off as incredibly lazy when a story is being drip fed to you like this. Because that game does this. Right before the final boss, there's just a bunch of documents on the ground that you read, and it kind of like, it just gives you the fucking answer. At least this game has a cool song at the end of the game. It's like a classical song that I really like. But in terms of once I understood the story, I liked it. It was fine. It wasn't like amazing, but it wasn't terrible. You know, it was a cool story. But it would have been just so much more emotionally resonant if I knew what the fuck was going on. The world building is so cool, but there's absolutely nothing to the characters other than that the main character's gay and she likes gay banned media. That's it. That's all there is to the main character. She's gay. Good for you, but I'd like for the character to have more character, and I like for the story to have more story. Please, sir, can I have some more story? All right, I'm really sorry for rambling like that. It gets on my nerves, that kind of shit. I am so tired. The next indie game I play is going to have a good story that is conveyed well, or I'm just not playing it. That's how it's going to work. Okay, so conclusion statement, I still fuck really hard with the gameplay, and this is I'm pretty sure this is the developer's first game, so if they ever try their hand at survival horror again, I think they have a bright future ahead of them, and I definitely will be watching with interest. The visual presentation is absolutely immaculate. I love it. It's just that my main issue with the game is the story. The gameplay is very good, minus some jank here and there. The story is just really ass. So I want to like the game, but it is bogged down by the pretentiousness of the story for me, ultimately. Still, I wouldn't mind playing this game again, if some things were smoothed over in like a patch. I also wouldn't be closed-minded to playing other games by the devs. I think these devs have a very bright future ahead of them. It's kind of cool, and I also like how the game's endings are determined in a similar way to Silent Hill 2's endings, where there's an invisible point system and actions done lead to this idea. So yeah, I like the game a lot. I wish the story was handled way better, and there is some jank that I want to get around. Next up is a game that I am low-key very excited to talk about. After I completed Signalis, because it was my birthday game, I played the game that I was actually very excited for to come out in May, and that was Doom: The Dark Ages. Oh my goodness. Now, if you do not know, I fucking love Doom. I love taking a demon's head and just fucking crushing it. I love that shit. It's so cool. So yeah, let's just get into this game. First of all, just in general, this game has the same problem with Metaphor, where the booting up the game is really annoying. But this time, not because of long unskippable logos, it's just because the game has one logo, but it is so incredibly loud. This Santa hat is like crushing my skull. The boot up logos for this game are incredibly loud, and it's very annoying when I launch it every fucking time. So yeah. Other than that, Eternal was great. Doom Eternal was great, and I loved the crack speed shooting that was perfected in Ultra Kill, ultimately. But Eternal's formula is so very condensed and focused and like to a formula that I felt like there wasn't a lot of wiggle room, if that makes sense. Like there was no, like, I could not imagine how the game would naturally improve. So I don't know how it would ever expand upon the formula. So imagine my surprise to see that this game just throws that in the fucking trash and just replaced it with a fuck it, here's an arena, have fun formula approach. The game doesn't want you to kill enemies in very specific ways, it just wants you to just have fun. So instead of zipping around constantly weapon switching in this game, you are instead just rushing, you're just rushing into an arena filled with demons, full fucking cock out, and you're just mowing them down like a fucking tank. The game is very sandboxy with its combat, and that is very refreshing. And also the shield, so in Doom Eternal you have like the meat hook and like the flamethrower and all this shit, and you have the grenades. But in this game you just have a shield, and it is, I love that shield. So, you know, fuck the chainsaw, fuck the laser sword, fuck the meat hook. The shield does all of the things that did in the past. Obviously, with a shield, you parry enemy attacks, and that's kind of cool. You can also just generally block. That's also really cool. But the big thing is that it has a chainsaw around it, and you can just fucking punch it into enemies and saw them down. You can throw it like fucking Captain America and bounce it between enemies. That's so cool. You can also do a massive shield bash where you just rush forward with it and explode enemies. It's so cool. Not only that, but just the new weapons in general in this game, they not only feel good to shoot, which, like, seriously, the sound design of this game is just straight up orgasmic, but they're just so creative. It is a gun that crushes there is a gun in the game that crushes skulls and shoots the fucking fragments at enemies. There is a gun in the game that is just a metal ball and chain that gets launched out and immediately retracted back. How do you not find that cool as fuck? This all goes towards making the Slayer feel the most powerful he's ever been. He's not zipping around the arena like an Eternal, but he feels like a fucking monster. It's like the difference between Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. You know, in fact, pretty much every cutscene in the game is just to glaze the fuck out of the Slayer. Like, even the enemies, even your, like, arch nemesis, like, fucking glazes the shit out of you. It also helps that he just looks his absolute best in this game. He has a cape, the shield, and the mace. Oh, also, you have a mace in the game that just feels fucking good to fucking slam around. They also reworked his helmet to resemble a knight more and just, like, he just looks so fucking intimidating. And he actually is in this game. He's the most aura farming, like, intimidating guy in this game, and it feels good. Oh yeah, he also has a dragon that you fly around that's, like, really fucking cool. This game's just cool. Also, although I'm okay with it, the game does, it's very parry heavy. You're going to be using that shield to parry a lot of enemy attacks. It's not, like, absolutely required, but you're going to definitely be suffering if you don't parry. And, you know, personally, I'm fine with it, but you have to lock the fuck in to parry, and I don't know, a lot of people like to call this game parry slop, and I completely understand why they think that. I also know that people aren't too fond of the dragon levels, but I liked both the dragon and the mech levels because, like, they're pretty badass, and it's not like they're around for too long. Like, the dragon levels last, like, the longest you'll spend on a dragon level is like 10 minutes. It's not that bad. Same with the mech missions. They're very short especially compared to, like, the normal levels in this game. It's like 20 minutes compared to, like, a normal mission, which is like an hour and a half long. There are also chapters in this game that are just like, you know, you get a normal, like, modern Doom level where it's like a linear path you're going on fighting enemies, and then there's sometimes you'll get a level that is just a gigantic open field that gives you multiple objectives, and you just go through it however you want, and ultimately you just gotta kill enemies on the field, and that I like that a lot. That freedom of choosing. It's not Eternal. It throws out that formula, instead it does its own thing, and frankly it feels more reminiscent to Doom 1993 than it does Doom Eternal, and I like that a lot because I really like the original Doom. That being said, the game definitely does have problems. Not being able to use your shield during the weapon switch animation is really annoying because weapon switching as a whole takes way too long in a game that is so very fast-paced. The game, you're not zipping around like in Doom Eternal, but the game is still very fast-paced, and unfortunately when you're switching weapons, you can't do anything. You are left defenseless, and I don't know if that's like a strategic part of the game, but it feels like for enemies that move lightning fast, especially on the higher difficulties, it feels like weapon switching just takes way too long. It's like 2 to 3 whole seconds for, like, weapon switching, which is, like, unacceptable in a game where the enemies are just zipping around. Also, I know that I get that Mick Gordon left and all, but the music in this game just is not noticeable at all. It feels like either generic horror ambience or generic metal music. I cannot hum you a single song in this game like I could do with 2016 or Eternal. Also, as for the level design, in terms of like the actual visuals, not the path you take, it's good. It's very moody, but Eternal is just outclasses this game a lot. Like Eternal, there was so much different variety, and there was so much fucking eye candy, right? But in this game has like 3 different environments, and then the dragon missions has like unique environments. Also, please, for the love of God, let me sprint backwards. Also, the final boss was just very disappointing. Overall, I really did not like the final boss. I wish he was cooler, especially compared to Eternal's final bosses. I didn't really bring up the story because there's not, again, like with most Doom games, there's not really one to talk about. Like, I like how the game kind of leans more into the story than the previous 2, but you still just don't have to give a shit at all. Let's see. All the challenges are really fun for like trying to 100% this game is fun. It's really addicting. I think that's something the modern Doom games do really well, is like making it really fun to actually try and 100% this game. I also love the new look for the skull keys are really funny because like they're actual skulls, cause, like medieval hear ye type shit, and I like that a lot. I think it's really funny and cool. Honestly, yeah. Frankly, to conclude, this is like one of the most badass games I've ever played. Period. It's like tied with Ultra Kill. I think it's still my. I think it's my favorite modern Doom game. Frankly, and I see the backlash and people like are really disappointed with this game. Like nobody talked about it after like a few weeks after it came out, and I just don't get that. I had fun with it. You know, I think Doom is just a fun time to just sit back and turn your mind off to. I liked it, and I liked it a lot. I think this game was a very fun time. Rip and tear. Let's stand and fight. Let's go. Next up, I replayed the base game in preparation for this DLC. Next, I played Lies of P Overture. Now, if you don't know, I'd say that Lies of P is probably my game of the year 2023, tied with Pikmin². It was so unbelievably good. I loved every second of it. And so for this DLC, let's start with the stories. The ethical dilemmas are pretty neat. Like there's nowhere near as many as there were in the base game, but one of them is definitely like up there. It's like really cool. There's a fucking brain in a tube, and you're basically like deciding whether to like put it out, euthanize it, or maybe let it live because the person who did it, the person who was that brain in a tube, did some pretty bad things in the past. So despite not being many, it was still really cool. Honestly, other than that, the story is pretty much just like trying to look for this one person. And when you meet that person, her name is like Leia. It's a very satisfying moment, and like you get to fight with her. Like she fights side by side with you, and that's really cool. And I really liked it a lot. And also there's some lore in the game that's like explained pretty easily. And I do like the lore that we got from this DLC concerning the big players of base game. But I still wish this wasn't in the past, and we can focus more on like Sophia's whereabouts. Like, yeah, I'm a simp. How could you tell? The game does the same thing that the Dark Souls 1 DLC does, where like it sends you in the past and you're like trying to do something and you're secretly the hero all along, taking the credit for someone else's hard work. But like, I don't know, that's a little too on the nose for me. I wish the DLC took place after the events of the main story, personally. That being said, the game the DLC has many hype moments in Aura, and I appreciate that a lot. And I will say the ending of the DLC is really good. I liked it a lot. I like how it ties into the shit that happens in the base game, and it's also very abrupt in like a good way. It feels like a very abrupt ending in a good way. I like that a lot. In terms of the characters, Jiminy is still very annoying. I don't really care for him. But that being said, fighting with the real Alidoro is so based. His whole like side adventure was so fun, and you know, tracking down the past Arlecchino is. I didn't really know how to feel about it first, because the main villain of this DLC is Arlecchino, and if you play the base game, then you know his fate. He's the guy who calls you on the phone, is like basically the fucking Riddler, and then you can find him and like kill him as like an old fucking decrepit puppet, right? But so you know what happens to him in base game, and it felt kind of weird that the entire game you're basically tracking down a person who's after him, and I felt very conflicted throughout the entire game until the very end. But after playing through the game entirely, Arlecchino is way more fucked up than you once thought. Like, you can see why he was a problem and needed to be stopped. And, like, at first you thought he was just the guy who killed Vanini's parents, but now he's like a actually really cool villain in my eyes. I love the thematic, and I also love the thematicism of the final fight with him and Leia. Moving on with the characters, there's an NPC who gives you a side quest, and he is literally just the protagonist from The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, which I think is kind of funny. And then there's Leia, the legendary stalker you're tracking down, who's like also tracking down Arlecchino. She's very cool. She seems pretty cool. She's related to Sophia, and it just makes me care about Sophia more, honestly. In terms of the gameplay, fuck that stupid fucking elephant thing in the first level of the DLC. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I hate that thing with my life. I hate their women and their children too. At least the new weapons in the game are pretty cool though. I really like that gun blade right there. Was like so fucking cool to play with. There's a bow that it's like infinite ammo. It doesn't do that much damage, but it's just really useful and versatile for like getting pot shots off at enemies. It's good for keeping range, and like if there's an enemy on a platform that's like annoying you, just fucking shoot it with your bow. It's that easy. I also love the new Legion arms you get. There's like one that's like a shotgun attached to your arm. That's kind of cool. There's one that honestly the shotgun's the only one that's worth talking about, low-key. That being said, there's some platforming in this DLC that's really lame and annoying, and I do not like it at all. Like, why put platforming in a Souls-like? I don't like that shit at all. Also, the new outfits you get are also really cool. I really like the hunter outfit that's like all throughout the advertising. Also, this boss right here that's being shown on my screen, he's a big guy. I think he's the only boss of the DLC that was really not fun. Like, I don't think he's a good boss. There's also a boss that is essentially just I'm not gonna spoil it. It's an optional boss. It has a second phase that is very reminiscent of Shadow of the Erdtree bosses, with like many very heavy, frequent hitting combos and not a lot of room to heal. Like, and granted, there's the whole deflection mechanic, and also there's difficulty options now, which we'll talk about in a second, but like still, just fuck off. In terms of the world, I love the environment design. It's very unique for Souls-like. You go to a zoo, and then to like a carnival, and then to like this like fucking icebergs, like you're traveling across icebergs like a fucking polar bear, and then like this small homey like snowy town into this like grand manor. It's very cool, very unique for Souls-like, and I like it a lot. I also love the use of classical music and great value classical music. And near the end of the DLC, you actually get some like branching paths in the level design, which is something I'm very much excited to see from these devs. Because if you don't know, the base game is like linear to a T. It's nothing too extravagant, and I'm still fine if the game was like entirely linear. I'd still be fine with that. But it is nice to see that they're actually trying something new with the level design. I really like the area they had with the Shipwreck Cove. Like, I fuck with it, I push the line with it. That was a very fun area. I liked it a lot. Now, onto the miscellaneous section, because holy shit, along with Overture, they just updated the game with a lot of things to just add. The big one being a difficulty option. The hardest difficulty is like the difficulty that it was set to by default. You can also freely refight bosses now. Thank goodness. You can also add challenges to it in start a gauntlet and stuff like that. And there's just so much quality of life that they added that I'm very thankful for. There is a progress bar under your ergo counter to see so you can see like how much you need until you level up, just at a quick glance. Being allowed to consume hard ergo at the level up screen is also just huge. There's also they added a gallery so you can just freely view weapon models and character models, and that is so cool. I liked it a lot. Also, I don't know if they improved it or not, but I loved the sound design for the DLC. I don't know if I just like noticed it here and not in the base game, but I liked the sound design a lot. Although something that baffles me is that the first boss of this game, this DLC, this one right here, she has jiggled physics on her boobs. Feels kind of weird. And there's also like an ass shot. At first, I was thinking, did they goonify this game? It made me a little worried. Also, as is, the best part of the base game were the music discs. The music discs in this DLC, they're not as good as the base game, but they are still fucking bangers. The best DLC discs, in my opinion, are Nightmare and Clear Blue Sky, and like the base versions of them. And yeah, I like them a lot. So in conclusion, gameplay-wise, this DLC is absolutely phenomenal, but story-wise, I think there's only like a few months that come close to the base game story, in my opinion. But still, this was very good, and I liked it a lot. All right, next one. This next game, I'm gonna preface that the only reason I played it is because a friend of mine told me to hop on it, and I didn't have it. Do you know how goddamn embarrassing it is to be told to hop onto a game when you don't have it? I will not stand for that. So I'm gonna actually use my my own footage here. But next I played Elden Ring Nightreign, the Elden Ring roguelike experience. It has a very interesting premise and setup. I liked it. I like the idea of this game a lot, actually. You're just you choose a class and you're spawned in this big sprawling map, and you go from location to location to fight enemies and mainly level up and get better equipment. And then when night comes, basically the eye of the storm for Fortnite will close in on you. And when it's fully closed, you're left in a small arena where you fight a boss, and then you and you repeat that again, and then you fight a big boss at the very end. So it's essentially a 40-minute run back, but like I like the general formula of this game. You know, you're on the map, you try and fucking route yourself to get a good build, and then you fight a boss, and then you do that again, and then you fight a really big boss. And it's 3-player co-op. It's very fun at first. It's a very interesting premise, and all the classes feel very unique and different. There's 8, I think there's 8 classes in this game. Also, full disclosure, I'm talking about the base game. I have not played the DLC yet, but it feels very unique, and I like it a lot. The classes feel different and unique with their different. They also have special abilities. They have a movement ability and like a big attack ability. I mostly play Iron Eye. This footage right now, I'm just playing as Wilder. You're also going to be doing a lot of micromanagement with this little map here, so be on the lookout for that. So overall, yeah, very interesting. But it does not stop the fact that all runs don't really have enough randomness to feel like you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. The maps feel very samey. The random generation of structures are very samey. You're mostly going to be just doing the same thing over and over. You're going to be focusing down churches and castles and tunnels to get the same exact things, to get just the same amount of like experience, the same amount of like weapon upgrades, and the same amount of healing flasks. Like it all feels very samey, and only every now and then does something happen to like change up a run, but most of the time it's for the negative. Like this shit, sometimes this guy will spawn on the map and he will forcefully take half your health, like permanently just half your health, and you have to fucking like, you have to pay him pay a fucking troll toll. It's so annoying. And again, like here's a church. You get this to get another charge of your healing flask, and you always want to focus these down. Most of the time, normally you spawn in front of a church, like almost always. And like the random events in the game are either A, available for a limited time of your playthrough, or B, shit, because they punished you for no reason, like that guy who takes half your health. And there's also like sometimes a locust swarm will just appear, and if you stand still for like 2 seconds, a level is permanently taken away from you from the run. At that point, you're just better off just quitting and just starting a new run. And then there's C, which is just something that is just in a run normally, but the difference is that you're going to be forced to do it anyway. It's also really hard to coordinate in this game with randoms, which is unfortunate because I played with 2 friends in this game, but I played with them separately, right? So most of the time we had a third, and it was always so hard to coordinate. You can ping a location you'd like to go, and that's pretty much it. You can't do like anything else. You can't gesture because like that's going to be a huge waste of time. You're going to be running a lot. You can't like really. It's not like a deep rock ping either. You just ping where you want to go. It's really so yeah. It's really hard to coordinate with randoms in this game. It's very miserable. Save yourself by making sure you at least have 2 friends to play this game with. Also, can you believe that 2-player mode was not an option until after the game was like well out, like until like nearly October? They added that decision. And also, I know this isn't a problem with the game, but Soulsborne players are the highest concentration of douchebags, and the randoms you get are gonna get matched up with are gonna be really fucking annoying with a lack of like leaving mid-game penalty. So if a run doesn't go good for them, they're gonna be sore losers, and they're going to leave mid-match and so you either have to quit the match or pray that you can clutch the fuck up, because the game is very tightly balanced around the player count. Supposedly there is a penalty for leaving mid-game, but you can just quit via the console menu or Alt F4 as a workaround. And then there's like a solo play option, but like they try to balance it, but ultimately, these bosses have their movesets, and the movesets are not well designed around being solo. It's a very miserable experience playing solo. Do not ever play solo. It's not worth it. The movesets for the bosses are not made for one person, and their attacks are too many too quick. And it's like Shadow of the Erd Tree, but the difference is that like I'm okay with it because it normally is designed around 3 people ganging up on a motherfucker. What solo play needs is a boss go. If you play Deep Rock, you understand what I mean. Essentially, a spirit summon that you can res you a certain amount of times and does some alright damage that you can upgrade. Also, I don't know if it's me or PlayStation or FromSoft, but I swear every time I have a good run, I then get some shit internet that kicks me from the game and I have to like quickly try my best to log back in, and like I'm kicked out. I have to starting a chain reaction of just everything going wrong. Either the next person, another person will leave, just completely quitting the game, or shafting the chances of this run being good, or I'm just left behind in terms of levels. Like I missed out on some good loot while I was trying to log back in. It always fucking happened, every fucking time. Moving on to the actual unique bosses that you're like doing this entire gauntlet for, they're fine, better than most bosses in Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, and also the slot bosses in Elden Ring, but nowhere near like Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3. That being said, there are 2 bosses in this game that are huge stinkers. That being Augur, who is just like annoying. I don't like him at all. And then Libra. Genuinely some of the worst bosses I've fought. Libra is actually... Fuck Libra. Shit boss. Shit game. I'd rather fight Orphan of Kos 5 times in a row, deathless, than have to fight Libra. It is a Toho bullet hell boss that forces you to take a frenzy camp in your detour in a run. It is so bad. I'm trying not to be loud because there's people home, but... Fuck that boss. Moving on, there are little side quests you can do for all the classes in the game to like just get them more things to equip in their run. And sometimes it's just giving you a bonus objective in a run, like it'll give a little mark on your map to like go like kill a certain enemy in a run, which that's fine. Sometimes it brings you to a unique like boss arena that to just like do right there. And I like this. I like it. I overall like the idea of this like little side quest system. I think that's kind of cool. But remembrances affecting matchmaking are super stupid. Basically, you cannot if your objective is going to be in the middle of a run, you cannot match with people who aren't doing that. You have to be matched with people who are also just so happen to be doing remembrances. I don't know if they fixed that, but that's how it was for me when the game like first came out. And if that's the case, you are better off going on a run solo, doing the quest objective, and then throwing the match, because it will count. It's fun. Like, overall, I think this game is fun, but it just gets worse as it goes on. Like, it's hard to justify a long playtime, and it really just needs more variety. It lacks the oomph that, like, Risk of Rain or, like, Balatro have as roguelikes. At least I think this game has, like, the best dragon boss fight in all of Soulsborne. At least there's that. Also, the soundtrack is so good. Like, actually, it was very surprising that, like, this is definitely in my top 3 Soulsborne OSTs. It's so good. But overall, I just think the game is very meh. So in conclusion, again, this is talking about the base game. I did not play the DLC, but even then, the lack of content makes me feel like this DLC might be a mandatory purchase, and in that case, I don't think the game fully justifies its price tag. If the DLC was free, I wouldn't be saying that, but right now, it is just pretty stinky. And overall, I feel this game right now is just style over substance. I wish there was more, because like it's very promising. I like the core gameplay loop, I like the ideas, but it does not warrant doing it over and over and over again like you should be doing with roguelikes. But with all that being said and done, it is finally time to talk about the game that you were all waiting for. Let's talk about Expedition 33. Honestly, at first I thought this game was overhyped, overglazed. I was like, okay, surely you can't be this crazy over a French game. But no, it really is that good. I thought I was crazy seeing all the glaze, and then I played it and I was like, oh, it actually does deserve all that praise. And honestly, I'm very thankful to be present for one of these like once in a lifetime unanimously loved experiences, because the people who hate this game are just upset that their game didn't get more attention, or they're just being contrarian. I do not believe that there's someone who has played this game, actually played it, and disliked it. That being said, also, getting a physical copy of this game, actual nightmare. Actual nightmare. No retailer sold a new copy for more than a few hours. They sold out like wildfire. And when they are in stock, you need to wait like 3 months to get your copy delivered to you. I had to buy a pre-owned version for $20 extra, and it arrived a month after I bought it. It was absolutely insanity, and with how troublesome getting this game was. So surely, it is good enough to warrant the hassle, right? That being said, it did arrive earlier than expected, so I will forgive you for that. Granted, it was a scalped version of the PAL copy. So the initial premise is very unique, and it's very cool, and while I appreciate the game not really holding your hand with all the terms it throws at you, seeing as basic inference will kind of, I'll just allow you to figure it out. It's not like super hard to figure out what's going on. I do wish the game kind of had a compendium of sorts, like Final Fantasy 13, just like a thing in the menu that just is like a dictionary for all the unique terms this game throws at you. Also, in terms of story, each act of this game, it feels so very different yet so similar at the same time with each individual act. It feels, the acts instead feel like different Lord of the Rings books, if that makes sense. Like it's a different book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And they all come together to make this full thing. And frankly, I love that. This game also has loyalty quests for your party members, and they are mandatory. You got to do them. Just do them. You have to. I will be mad if you don't. You are missing out on a lot if you do not do the loyalty quest for the party members. I also feel that like the game has 3 unique distinct acts, and I feel like Act 3 is kind of like the final disc of a PS1 Final Fantasy game, where I think it's really funny, where it's just the last area of the game and all the post-game content. And I think that is funny, and I think it's awesome as well. I also love how once you hit Act 3, the game allows you to make things way harder to counteract any over-leveling you might do. Like you unlock an option to basically make enemies be way harder to kill. So like if you accidentally overlevel yourself for the final boss in the game, which I did, you can make it an actual challenging experience even if you're way too overleveled. Also, just in general broad strokes, I really like the ending of this game. I liked both endings. And thank God the different endings are just tied to like a single dialogue option after the final boss. You don't have to do anything crazy. It doesn't warrant a second playthrough. It's literally just, do you want to view ending A or ending B? And you just choose there. And it's that, I love that. Also, something I am eternally thankful for with this game is the dialogue. It's so well done. It's so well written, and I can imagine these people. Actually, I can imagine like real life people in this situation talking like that. It doesn't feel forced or hammed. It feels so natural, despite this like very fantastical world. It also helps that the voice performances are just, they do a stellar job. I played with the English voice cast. Normally when a game is like made in a different country, I like to play it with the voice performances in its native language. Like I played Blasphemous in Spanish. I like sometimes I like to play games that take place in Japan in Japanese. But with this game, I played in English, and the English voice cast is so good. I don't want to talk much about characters, because I really just think you should experience this game for yourself, but Gustav is a very interesting protagonist. At the start of the game, he has a very defeatist mindset, but it's like fun to see him like slowly gain hope more and more as the expedition goes well. But then we get introduced to Verso, Verso. I'm not going to spoil much, because his existence in the game is low-key a spoiler, but he is probably one of my favorite, like one of the most well-written characters in all of media. He is so interesting, he's so fascinating, and he's so well-written, and you really feel for him, and he is one of my favorite characters ever. Maëlle is very interesting. She's a very cool subversion of the like standard stereotypical hero's journey archetype. Lune is also kind of interesting, but honestly, low-key, I think she's the weakest of the party. And CL, she's such a cool take on the mentor character. She's so emotionally mature, and like her whole like background is that like it's so interesting. I also love Esquier. He's a silly little guy. He's such a silly little guy. All of the characters are just so amazing. They all get like these amazing moments. And unfortunately, it does make me a little sad that specifically Ciel and Lune, like I understand why, but they get pretty shafted in the later half of the story, which makes me a little sad. But overall, the characters are so well done. They are so well written. The entire cast is just so strong and incredibly well written, and like with what they grieve and their outlooks on moving past that, because the entire game is about grief and how they all handle it in different ways. So done. And again, Verso is up there with like Guts and Elliot Alderson and William Stoner in terms of like very complex written protagonists. In terms of gameplay, the combat is also very unique and engaging, with each character having like their own unique little gimmick, and every character having like a quick time event, every skill having a quick time event attached to it, as well as being able to dodge and parry enemy attacks with fairly strict timing. like I said, Metaphor was an evolution of turn-based combat, but Expedition 33 is also an evolution, but they're just going in different directions. Metaphor is like going very hard on it. Expedition 33 is taking a lot more game mechanics from other genres and putting them all together. In fact, this game does that a lot. You can tell how much this game loves other video games by the mechanics that it borrows from other video games, if that makes sense. That being said, with the whole like dodging and parrying thing, if you manage to nail parry timing down, which it's spoilers, it's a lot more reactive than you think, the game is completely trivialized. At least for the main game. Like the optional side content, very, very much so. You can very much have a hard time with that. I'm being serious. I didn't. But that being said, I did not dodge once in this game. I just locked in with the parrying, and man, the early game was a cakewalk, and most of the mid game was. It was only the late game that gave me like real trouble and forced me like really lock in. That being said, some of the late games things kind of like they have so many weird hit delays and things, and it's Shadow of the Erd Tree bullshit, but it actually makes sense here because you're gonna be completely trivializing yourself if you nail down that parry timing. So of course it's gonna try and like mess you up a little bit, and that's what actually makes it like okay and cool, because like it's a subversion. It actually makes it way more dynamic and fun to like memorize these movesets. It's cool. The only problem is that like when it comes time for like a phase transition in a cinematic boss, there's like very cinematic attacks with the camera angle doing weird, and it wastes so much time. It just wastes a lot of time when it's your 5th attempt on a boss, and like the camera angle makes it way more harder to gauge when it is, and to a point where I feel it's very unfair. But yeah, innovates on turn-based combat formula, but instead of taking inspiration from other turn-based games, instead takes inspiration from action games and spices up in a formula in a way that's appealing to all audiences. In terms of the game world, the field exploration, with the field exploration, I really wish the camera was zoomed out more. I wish that I also wish you don't do that weird like magic attack thing when you're trying to initiate a fight with like the touch encounters and things. Just make it like a melee strike. It makes more sense, and it's way easier to gauge like distance and stuff like that. And like if the enemy is in range or not, it feels very clunky with the animation, I'd say. The game also has like a PS1 Final Fantasy style like world map, which was very jarring because on one hand, they don't make them like they used to. But on the other hand, it's very funny to just see these like realistic player models on this like shrunken map. It's very, very, very funny. But at least the environments in this game are fucking gorgeous, straight gorgeous, and they're downright beautiful. And the first 5 hours alone of this game world show as much visual variety that like goes up with like the levels of like Xenoblade and Final Fantasy 12, and like Elden Ring, which like to me, from me, is like the highest compliment I could give. The Expedition continent is also just really cool with all like the unique inhabitants, because like they try their hand at like doing knock-ons. And it's cool. It works really well, and I like them more than knock-ons. Hashtag gestrels for life. They're such silly little guys, and I love them so much. I also really like the camp system, and now I pretty much want any game to have like a hub with a record player after playing this and Lies of P and Final Fantasy 16. A complaint I do have though is that I really wish like non-world map areas in this game would have like a mini map, because there's like on the world map you can actually pull up a map and like see where you are in like locations and all that. And I just wish you would get that for like the actual areas you explore in this game, because there can be a lot of winding paths and it can get pretty easy to get lost in. So you have to do like a lot of memorization. It's not fun. That being said, I do like field bosses just like chilling in the open map. Like super bosses, you can like they're colossal beings that just chill on the world map that you just casually like see, and I like that a lot. I think that's kind of cool. Conclusion for the world. It's overall one of the most artistically and like visually interesting worlds. It is pure eye candy, and if it weren't for like the deadly monsters and everyone dying, I'd say I'd want to live here. But unfortunately, everybody's dying and shit. So, time for miscellaneous stuff. The music is fucking phenomenal. Like from the first 5 hours, instantly it became like one of my favorite video game OSTs. Really good. I kind of hate how at the Game Awards they just kept playing the same song whenever they won. I wish they would at least use more, because like it's a good soundtrack, but like when you hear that same song over and over again, it does get kind of annoying. The game also has side quests, but literally all of them are fetch quests, which makes it all kind of mid to me. At least I think it's kind of funny that at the very least, like after you complete a side quest, you can just kill it just gives you a dialogue option to kill the quest giver, which is really fucking funny. And like there's also just not that much consequence to it as well. But at least in the late game, you do get the loyalty quest for your party members, and those are really good and really cool. I also think that, again, the voice acting and dialogue writing is just, they're so spot on and exactly what I want out of a game like this. I also like how it's a fantastical world with grounded people and dialogue, so fuck you, Japan, and your shitty ass dialogue writing at times. But again, like for a turn-based game where you go to different arenas to fight, why is there's always big obvious like boss arenas before you go to a fight, which like in the game world, which that doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Getting to like the wardrobe and the Lumina menus, they're kind of annoying because they're both sub menus for things that are kind of important. Let's see, SKA is really, he's such a silly little guy, but it sucks that you can't like attack and initiate fights while riding him in the open world, which is really stupid in my opinion. I don't like that at all. Also, the volleyball minigame is not well playtested. It was not playtested. Fuck that fucking minigame. I hate it, and the women and the children too. Genuinely one of the worst minigames in the entire world of video games. That volleyball minigame from Expedition 33 is terrible, and I did not like it at all. I also really wish the game had a manual save button and a better fast travel, at least in the world map. You can fast travel in like the individual areas, but you cannot fast travel in the world map, and I don't like that. I also wish that there was an easy way to tell that like there was an enemy like ahead of you in the level, like maybe like a radar or something. Also, for some reason, the cutscenes in this game are significantly quieter than gameplay. Like, there's no problem with the cutscenes themselves, it's just like, you might want to turn your volume up when a cutscene plays. I also dislike how long you have to hold a button for something like, say, a chroma elixir or the skip turn option, because the animation just feels like, it feels like 2 whole seconds. Like, it feels like the animation completes 2 whole seconds beforehand when you're actually holding the button. This was definitely a game I felt very thankful to take my time with, for sure. And you can just tell it loves and respects the medium of video games, very much so. I also find it completely incredible how like complete the game feels. It's so dense with things to do. Like, it's not just the story. There's so much side content to this game as well. It feels very complete, and it's so content dense. Because, like, again, an entire third of this game is post-game. It's also funny that, like, once you can do this post-game content and then just absolutely curb stomp the final boss. I think that's really fucking funny. That being said, I think it's absolutely stinky that you can't go into New Game Plus on a separate save file. You can't, like, if you're going into New Game Plus, you're going to be locked in on that New Game Plus file. Still, definitely, of, like, in terms of games of the year that came out this year, it's it. This. It's not even surprising. I think it absolutely deserves every single award it got. I know that people are mad about it and baby raging, but I think those people have not played this game. It really is that good. I think it deserves every single award it gets. Well, after that really long discussion, let's instead just go through a lightning round of games I didn't really have much to say about, but I played them anyway. Starting with Chairs, this is a small indie platformer that is just really fun. I have no other way to say it. It's fun. It's only like 5 levels. It can be completed in like an hour, but the mechanics are surprisingly deep, and it's just an absolute shitpost of a game, but it's so unique and artsy and stylized that in a way that is really fun. Next, I finally played Lethal Company for the first time, and it was very fun. I have no other words for it because everybody else has already pretty much just talked about it to death. So I'm not gonna like expand the conversation anymore, other than saying that I had a good time with friends, and it was pretty much exactly what I was expecting. The same goes for Content Warning, except with Content Warning, I played with some mods because some friends told me to hop on, and I had been to have the game, but just haven't played it. And then I installed some mods, and it made it fun. I had a more fun time with Content Warning than I did Lethal Company, but I think it's just because of the people I was playing with, so yeah. Then I played Due Process. This is an indie FPS that's kind of like, it's kind of like CSGO, but even more tactical, and frankly, it was too sweaty for me. I liked the graphical style, I like the ideas, but I feel like it'd be a game I would more enjoy watching than playing. It was alright to me. Next up, I got hooked on Risk of Rain 2. At first, I was like, I don't see why people love this game so much, and then I played it, and like, I get it now. I also played Risk of Rain Returns, but nowhere near as long as 2. I think Returns is fine, but I'm gonna be honest, Risk of Rain in general just turns on my monkey, goopy, goblin gamer brain, so I'm just gonna sit and be like, I look at 3D graphics more. So, yeah. I also played Tabletop Sim. It's Tabletop Sim. Oh, I played Limbo. I actually played it earlier, like a few years back, but I actually finished it this time. And Limbo, it's very interesting. You experience very simple, but good at what it does, and I like it. I haven't played Inside or anything like that, but Limbo, it was so It was fascinating, and it was a nice little 2-hour experience horror story. I played Rabbit in Steel. Honestly, the game is fine, but I don't think I would ever like play it by myself. And frankly, I don't like that the game has pretty much no animation quality, like at all. Like you're just kind of like sliding across the battle map. I wish there was some effort put into like the battle animations and stuff like that. That does make me think less of the game genuinely. It has but surprisingly, and like I think overall the game is good and like it's like whatever. But surprisingly, the soundtrack is probably one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever heard. It's really good. I also played Pikmin 2 Regrown. This is kind of like a master quest to Pikmin 2. It's a ROM hack that like just tries to remake Pikmin 2 by just adding some quality of life things and doing things that just make sense. You know, moving the location of some of the caves to just, again, make more sense and stuff like that. It's very fascinating. And lastly, are 2 games. I played Halo for the first time. I played Halo Reach, and then I played the first game. Now, granted, I know nothing about Reach because I skipped all the cutscenes because I was playing co-op with a friend. Spoilers, it was Ven for you, from my Pandora Sour Let's Play. We played Halo Reach together, and I didn't know anything of the story because we were all just chatting shit. I get the hype now. The gameplay is pretty addictive and it's fun. It's just a good FPS shooter. It does well with like pacing. It keeps you very enticed. I see the hype now. And then I went and played the first game, and I actually did pay attention to the cutscenes. And the story's nothing to like write home about. There's like a cool twist halfway through, but it's not like insane. But I get it. I get the hype now, and I see why Halo has the place in gaming history that it does. And I now officially like Halo, and I'm very excited to play Halo 2 when I get around to it. The next game I played was for the Switch 2, because I actually managed to get a Switch 2, but I didn't play anything because my brother kind of hogged it. We went halvesies on it. I paid $250, he paid $250. And I didn't get to play anything for a long time, but I was fine because I was playing Expedition 33. But then, I played Donkey Kong Bonanza. I love monkeys, and this is the most monkey game I've played in a long time, and that makes me very happy. Now listen, I know Nintendo is a bad company, alright, and they deserve to be shit on, but I do think this game deserves its due credit. It was pretty fun. It was good. I had a very enjoyable time. In fact, it was so good that I didn't even bother writing that many notes because I just kept wanting to play. I didn't want to be taken away from the game at all. So much so that I also wanted to skip a lot of cutscenes because, again, I just wanted to play the game. I didn't give a shit for the story. Now, I should also mention that I actually don't really fuck that much with platformers in general, other than Mario. I never really got into Donkey Kong Country. That being said, this is a completely different beast. It's a 3D game, and it's a lot more akin to Mario Odyssey than, and I guess Donkey Kong 64 than it is the DK Country games, which is, you know, fair. I ain't gonna hold you for that. This game is just so fun. It's like, the face buttons are jump, punch, punch, and punch. I don't know how else to say it, but that just works. The whole thing is that the ground is completely breakable, and you can just like dig your way through levels, and it's just, you don't even need to collect the main collectibles of this game, the bananas. You don't need to collect them. But you should, because you can upgrade yourself when you get enough of them. I love digging around in the general movement of this game, and this is the highest compliment. The digging in this game is almost as good as digging around in Deep Rock.
Rock and stone!
Actually, you know, okay, I'm gonna say it's better at digging around than Deep Rock. Also, the music is fucking superb. This is one of the best game soundtracks that I have experienced in a long time. Do I like it more than Expedition 33? I'd say it's tied, honestly. I also just like the Mario Odyssey formula they have going on, but it's instead of like you need X amount of MacGuffins to progress, it's instead you can progress by just doing story stuff, but you want these MacGuffins to upgrade yourself so that you don't have a hard time. Also, the game hands out gold like candy to you. It is very easy to get rich, which makes sense so that you lose a lot when you die. But it's like Lego studs, you know? You don't need them, but they place it in such a way that just acts on my fucking OCD and pisses me off if I don't get them. And the sheer destruction that you Havoc as this fucking monkey going banana it's just addictive and it's so fun. Genuinely, I like fully locked in and just went monkey mode and just started mashing buttons, digging as fast as I can, and then I reached a boss like way earlier than I should have, and you just go monkey mode on it by just fucking mashing, just running into it, going full ape shit. fully intended, and just going wild, not caring about damage, and it's really funny. That being said, the bosses in this game, I feel, are, they're fine. They're supposed to have, like, a gimmick to them and stuff like that, but if it is as simple as just go monkey mode on them and, like, just punch them until they go away. Like, it really is as simple as just, you just roll up to them as quickly as you can, punch them as fast as you can, and, like, you just win. Like, I don't think the game was expecting you to go monkey mode. That being said, this game has another mechanic, and that's this little girl riding you. This is, like, Child Pauline before Mario Odyssey, and, I don't know. Like, I don't really care about her. I've never really cared for children characters in media that, like, don't have much to their character other than that they're a child. She has this whole, like, thing where she's, like, anxious about singing, and she, like, gets over it, and, like, that's fine. It's definitely, like, serves this, like, very kiddie, narrative, and I have no problem with that. I just don't really care for her myself as an adult, which, again, is fine. Like, just thinking about it, I wish she stayed as, like, a little rock. She starts as, like, a little rock and then transforms into Pauline because she's, like, trapped in a rock, but I think I liked her better as a rock. Maybe I just hate high-pitched voices. Maybe that. If you just want to play this game for the gameplay, skip the cutscenes, nobody gives a shit. I also really just like the level design. Every little, like, you're basically going down further and further into these, like, layers, and, like, all the layers are themed, kind of like Mario Odyssey. Although, that being said, some layers are just, like, purely transitional areas. Like, sublevel 400 is just transitional, and, like, there's, like, nothing to do there other than, like, get a few bananas and then just go to the next area. Which is lame. I think that's lame. I don't like that. I wish there was more to that in that regard, but the levels we do get, there's like 16, I think. There's 16 sub-levels to go through, and most of them are all, like, actual levels. There's, like, 3 that are purely transitional, and I like all of them. I like all of them. They're very, very, very good. And also there's this thing with the Bananza thing where you basically transform into another animal temporarily, and they all have unique abilities. The big one is the ostrich, since you can fly and glide, which allows for a lot of speedrun skipping and stuff like that. And I think they're all pretty cool and fun and, like, to upgrade and stuff. The only one I didn't really fuck with at all was the snake. The snake was, I didn't really use it outside of the level you get it. It's very useless. And the best one is definitely the elephant, for sure. The elephant is, like, absolutely busted. Going back to the bosses, so, like, a lot of bosses just consist of punching them until they go away. And again, they're, like, supposed to have gimmicks, but they can't handle you just going full monkey mode. And I understand it's a kid's game and stuff like that, but low-key, with the way Bananza mode works, they should have made bosses like Pizza Tower, where in order to do well, you have to keep your Bananza going for, like, multiple periods of time. Because the Bananza meter, it's on a cooldown, like, it's like on a meter that's gonna slowly go down. But it, like, recharges with gold, so if you kill a bunch of enemies and get gold as you kill them in Bananza mode, you can just immediately transform immediately after exiting. So instead, I think it should have been like Pizza Tower, where your goal is to just try and feed that meter as long as possible. Imagine, like, a speedrun category where you're always in Bananza, like, constantly keeping it fed. I think that would have been awesome. Also, this entire thing is just completely scattered. It feels like as, like, the sub-levels go on, so, like, yeah, they're all, like, have unique environments and I like them a lot, but it feels like as they go on, they get less content dense. Like, for sub-level 3, you're going through this insane labyrinth and, like, doing all these story events, and then, like, by sub-level, like, 1100, you're just kind of like, you show up, you talk to someone, you do a little mini game, and then you're just on to the next level. Also, I don't care if it's spoilers. I really don't. The main villain of this game is this guy called Void Kong, and he's kind of cool. But then all of a sudden, there's a twist. There's a twist ending where it's King K. Rool as the final boss, and I don't know how to feel about the twist. Like, on one hand, it feels kind of cheap, but on the other, it's K. Rool. Like, and I do like K. Rool as a villain. He's fucking rad. He's pretty much Bowser if he was just, like, actually straight up, like, more evil. But unfortunately, in terms of the boss fight himself, K. Rool is just a health sponge of a final boss, and I feel like the sequence just goes on for way too long. Like, genuinely, my thumb got tired from mashing in a kid's game. Also, I finished the game with 690 bananas. So yeah, overall, the game was very fun, and I didn't even want to look away to take notes. I wanted to play the game that badly. I give this a monkey out of 10. Alright, the next game I played was actually very something special. It was very unique. The next game I played was Kentucky Route Zero.
Hark the voice of Jesus calling.
This is less of a game and more of a playable novel. I planned on making a video about it that would come out, but it's got delayed, and I'll explain why later, much later. But this game was very, very, very unique. So I guess to start with, I really like the art style and the UI. Like, okay, look at this sequence. This is very unique with like the trees creating these like silhouettes and different shapes and stuff. What a very unique experience this game provides. I also like how the menu text, like even the menuing, is more like a poem than UI text, but it's still like comprehensible. The game also really like goes hard with the art style. It really goes hard with black silhouettes, like on like brightly contrasting backgrounds and like vice versa. It's very good with that. The game is also really good with sound design. Also, and the game is separated into like these 5-act structures as well. And with these 5-act structures, there's little in-between chapters that like explore some like concept that's going to be relevant to the next act. And it's very, very interesting. They subtly and weirdly give you obscure background lore. In a way, they work to introduce new characters that are going to be introduced in the next act. Though, that being said, this could be a problem if the main act fails to properly justify or utilize this in a way that makes it feel justifiable. And also something interesting is with the way each choice is phrased in the game, it makes it feel like your choice matters, but in reality it doesn't. And I mean that in a good way. I like how your choices don't matter in this game, because you're not choosing how the story goes. You are instead choosing the importance of the story scene. You're instead basically choosing how you want to interpret the scene, and the characters will interpret it that way for you, if that makes sense. The game is less focused on what happens in the plot and more how it affects you and the characters, and I like that a lot. If we're going to go back to the actual game part of the game, I will say the walking speed, it can be very slow at times. I really wish that any of the characters ran faster. Also, but sometimes the game can be very convenient for you and like automatically move your mouse cursor for you. For example, when you're actually on the 0, it works out really well for you. Like, okay, yeah, here it is on the 0. Like, the game is going to automatically move your mouse cursor in a circle as you go along it. This game is about a truck driver making a delivery to a place he's never even heard of, and to get there, he must take a mysterious highway called the Route 0 in Kentucky, obviously. But the thing is that this highway is very non-Euclidean. It has there's a lot of magical realism, and and he just experiences a lot of weird things and meets weird people along the way to his delivery. That being said, navigating the inventory is low-key hell. I do not like navigating the inventory. It's really dumb. Thankfully, you don't really have to do it that much in this game, but still, fuck that shit. The UI design and the map design of the 0 is very sleek and clever, and I like it a lot. The game uses a lot of like weird symbols to represent things, and it works out really well. You can tell that these people definitely got their background in art. And speaking of art, there's like very artsy segments where they play like actual lyrical songs while like something dramatic is happening in the story, and those moments are really good. It feels very cinematic and very relevant, especially with the music that's playing, and I really like the music. The soundtrack of this game is very moody and atmospheric, and then occasionally you get like an acoustic guitar song talking about Jesus. That's really cool. As for the act structures themselves, I think it gets better as it goes on. Like Act 1 is like Act 2 is better than Act 1, Act 3 is better than Act 2, Act 4 is better than Act 3, and then I think it only takes one little dip with Act 5. I like Act 5, but I think Act 4 is better, that's all. I think it's better. I do think Act 5 is better than Act 4, though. Act 3, I mean, yeah. Also, with the main cast, because, like, sure, you start playing as this truck driver named Conway, and he's kind of cool, but, like, he's not, like, the main character. The main character is, like, all of the people that you travel with, because Conway then meets this girl named Shannon, a TV repairwoman who just has her reasons for wanting to go to the 0, and you eventually keep meeting more and more people who travel with you, and I like all of these characters. I think they are really cool. There's only one that I didn't really care for, who was kind of like introduced like last minute in Act 4, and she just gets absolutely no like character development at all in that act. I wish I remembered her name. She plays Theremin as well. That's like a whole thing. And I like how like by Act 4 and 5, there are moments that get pretty fucking real. Like they just get so fucking real. And man, is it really good. I also I have another technical complaint The text boxes in Act 5 specifically can be a little janky and fucky with like when you're trying to click on them, and I wish you can you can also click out of them, which sucks, and you don't want to do that. So be careful. Now, I must warn you that this game is not really a game. It's more of like an art installation, so you have to treat it like one. You can't be... I wouldn't recommend this to people who need to actually play a game to be stimulated. If you're into visual novels, then you'll definitely like this. Actually, you might like this. If you are into the idea of like an interactable book, like a visual novel, I guess, but like not like it, but not like a like novelistic in like the most definitive way of the term. Like this game is very novelistic in both its pacing, its characters, its writing, even the way the words are phrased, the prose. It's very novelistic. If you like reading, you will like this game. So you have to and thus you have to treat it like one. If you want like actual exciting gameplay, this is not the game for you, because it's not even like choose your own adventure. It's really just walking to the next thing so you can read like these characters interacting with each other and like seeing a cool way that a sequence is like represented. So overall, I think it is a very intriguing artistic experience, and frankly, I did not know the plot, nor did I get the point. But I think that's okay, because I don't think the game wants you to focus on that. The game wants you to focus on the characters and how they react to things and how their lives affect them. The game is not about the delivery you make, but the journey to the delivery with these people that you meet and how it affects their lives afterwards. Speaking of the plot, there's a lot left up into interpretation in terms of both the themes, the actual what's happening. There's a lot going on because it's very abstract magical realism, right? Personally, and in my opinion, I think that this game has two major themes. The first one being being human with your community, not basically capitalism bad. Unfortunately, it's another capitalism bad story, but it doesn't focus on it like most other things. It instead just says spend time with your neighbor and cherish the community you have. And then the other thing is art and how underappreciated art can be. A person can put in a lot of effort into something, ultimately for people to not understand the point because they're too rigid in their mindset, or because they don't bother actually engaging with it and thinking about it on a critical level. And it can lead to things being underappreciated, or people only really focus on financial success with artistic endeavors. And I really like that message. I really like that theme, and I think it's really cool. And I think that is most prevalent in Act 2 and 3, and they're in between things. The what's it called? The entertainment and like the museum exhibit. But like honestly, this might be one of the only games where like I'm okay with not looking up the point after the fact I played it. So yeah, so like I think personally, my opinion, the themes are art and the effort / appreciation it receives, genuine community versus a forced community, or like, you know, having a home versus it being in a company home, finding home when you're lost, like finding a place to belong, and how hard it can be to keep a job, and the endless cycle of debt and being okay with not having control. I think these are themes in the game that matter. Now, granted, I think I would hate this game if I had to actually follow along with its release, because if you don't know, it has 5 acts and each act was released at a different date. And if I had to wait 7 years for 5 acts, I think I would have lost my mind. So I'm just gonna be willfully ignorant and be thankful that I got to play it all at once. Also, I'd imagine this game would be annoying as fuck to play on controller. The last thing I want to leave with this game is actually a series of Discord DMs that I left with a friend after completing it. I would definitely hate it if I had to wait for each act to release, and the story is definitely confusing as fuck, but I think there's meant to be more of a surrealist focused on the characters and all of their struggles. In that case, I like it because the vibes and characters come together to showcase that these abstract ways of defeat and acceptance of defeat in our modern life. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, and this game is, to me, especially, essentially a more artsy Disco Elysium, with less of a political focus and more of an abstract focus on the human experience in America / the working class. So yeah, this game, it was very interesting, and I'm glad to have played it, but I definitely understand if you don't like it, because it definitely not for everyone. Okay, so for this next game, I would show you the physical copy I would have, but I did something that I never, ever do. Ever. I returned a game. I don't ever return my games. I either give them to friends, or I keep them to myself if I want to replay them. I have never not enjoyed a game so bad and felt like I wasted my money so bad that I returned it, and unfortunately, the next game made me feel that way, which it sucks because I wasn't like expecting. I was expecting it to be at least a little good, hopefully. And this next game is Silent Hill F. I pre-ordered this game, and you know, to be fair, it came with a pretty cool pre-order bonus. It came with like this reversible poster in the case of like the character's face, and then you flip it around, it's like they're a monster. That was really cool. I liked that a lot. It also came with like some extra clothing options with like DLC, and I feel really bad because, man, I redeemed it not knowing I was going to return it, so I apologize to whoever gets my pre-ordered copy and gets a DLC code that's already been redeemed. Let's start with praises, because I think the game actually started out pretty decent. The game makes it very obvious that the theme is about, that this is a game about a Japanese schoolgirl dealing with the 1960s levels of sexism, right? And I like that. I like that idea. I like how it's explored in this game generally. I don't mind that at all. I think that starts out really strong. And I was very interested to see where those themes led at first. I also like how quickly the plot kicks off. It fucking goes. You get in an argument with your parents, and you go to see your friend, and you and your friend talk for a little bit, and then monsters show up in the town's fucking overrun by them, and you're scared. The voice acting, also, both in English and in Japanese, are not that bad. It's not like overly exaggerative like you would expect in like a Persona or like an anime, but it's not like monotone like in fucking Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you know? It feels very, very fitting. I like that. The music is also very unique compared to the series pedigree. This is the first Silent Hill game to not take place in Japan, and not take place in Silent Hill. Instead, this takes place in Japan, and that's very unique, and I like that a lot. And you know, the music fits that. I'm going to have other things to say about the music, but this is a praise for right now. And something that did make me a little questionable was how locked in and hard this game went with the combat. Now, there's like stamina with attacks and charge attacks and weapon durability and focus attacks and dodges and perfect dodges, and there's like weird equipment thingies that added perks. It was crazy, but ultimately I liked it. I actually like the combat of Silent Hill F. I thought it was cool. It was, at first I raised an eyebrow, but I see what the game is doing, and I think it actually does really well with this combat. I also like how instead of like the fog monsters and like a rusted world, it's instead like there's like flowers and everything. It's like trying to find horror through beauty, which I kind of like what that's trying to do. I think that's cool. Despite that, the combat is a little janky due to the enemy design. And then cracks started showing. As the story went on, the cast wasn't, you know, their voice acting wasn't very anime, but their actions were, to say, very cartoonishly incomprehensible. Like, for example, your main character finally meets up with more of your friends after the town is overrun by monsters, and you're like, we need to get out of here. And then they're like, oh no, the bridge is out. And then this is the they show. Now, call me crazy, but I could swim that. I could jump into the water and I could swim across and like just grab onto one of those rocks and just climb up and go back. Call me crazy, but I think honestly, I think I'm less athletic than like the baseball fucking player kid, the girl who's fighting these monsters, and the other girl who's, I don't know, probably athletic. Call me crazy, but that's like one thing where I was like, okay, that's really fucking stupid. Overall, just like the animations are like a little jank, which sucks because the death animations in this game are really good. They're like fucking gnarly. And then the game just kept like, this was like where it starts getting really bad. So we're then put into like more level segments, and then you get a boss fight, and the boss music low-key fucking sucks. But then I realized something. This game only has 2 difficulty options. Like, it has like 4 difficulty options for the puzzles. Cool. I like that. I played it on the hardest. Some of the puzzles were reliant on knowledge of like Japanese culture, which was a little stupid. But then for combat difficulty, there are 2 options. There's stupid easy baby, do you want your binky mode where nothing can kill you, and everything kills you in 2 hits mode. Go fuck yourself. What? That's not balanced at all. And then the story kept happening, and okay. So the story is the main character is a girl, gets in a fight with her parents because she doesn't want to conform to gender norms, and then she goes to talk to her friends. Her friends are this woman who immediately dies, so she doesn't care. It doesn't matter. And then her best friend, who's a guy, and they're like they have this whole like partner thing going on because they're like childhood best friends, and like they get along well because it's like the main character's a tomboy, so she and then there's another female friend that shows up who has a crush on the boy but is jealous of your main character for getting all the attention from the boy, right? Now, hear me out. Silent Hill is an M-rated series for mature. Why would I want to see high school fucking drama in the middle of a monster invasion? Like, girl, you have bigger priorities than cheap high school drama, petty ass bullshit in this game where the town is overrun by monsters. Now, frankly, she could be influenced by the town. I don't know, because I didn't fucking finish the game because it was that shit. But this, it pisses me off. I hated this shit because if I wanted to experience petty high school drama bullshit, I would go back to high school. It pisses me off that like shit like this happens, dude. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It also feels like disconnected from everything, from the other parts of the plot with like the main character and her sister and her family and her, you know, obviously trying to escape the town. Like, and like another example other than the bridge is like there's like a lock on a fence that's very easily jumpable. And then we get to the otherworld segments where like Hinako just completely turns into a different character because she's like being brainwashed by this weird dude with a fox mask. And these segments are so ass. In terms of gameplay, it's totally fine, these segments. But like in terms of story, you do like it. Every time this fox guy shows up, the same music plays. And then, so like he'll do something, he'll tell you to do something, and then you go away for like 5 minutes, and then you come back and the same music plays over and over again. And this happens like 8 times in the middle of the game, like back to back to back to back to back. And so every time I have to hear, I'm going to strangle a person the next time I have to hear that song. So the game got on my fucking nerves with even the soundtrack of a Silent Hill game. Also, for some reason, in all the in-engine cutscenes, Hinako, who's the main character, holds a pipe, like a metal pipe, even though like the game has multiple weapons, but also all the cutscenes are in-engine. Also, because going back to gameplay, the game has like inventory space management, but it's terrible because you just get so much shit that you're better off discarding the better healing items because you get flooded with so many mini healing items, and you should just start popping them like candy, at least on the easy difficulty where you don't die in 2 hits. And if you're on the difficulty where you're dying in 2 hits, it won't even matter because you're probably gonna want to use that if you want to stay alive, or you can just run past everything. It's not well balanced. There is ways to expand your inventory, but it's like nowhere near enough for the amount of items that you get flooded with. It was genuinely like the same problem with Resident Evil 3 Remake, where I just ditched my knife in exchange for shooting boxes open. Going back to something at least positive, I like how the Otherworld segments, instead of being like this rusty aesthetic like the rest of the series, instead does go for like the whole like flower fungal thing and like a traditional Japanese shrines. I think that's kind of cool. The sound design is also pretty good, but ultimately lacking compared to 2 Remake. I mean, 2 Remake is just better than this game in every single way. It's not even close. Oh yeah, here it is in my notes right now. If I have to hear that one song that plays in all the Foxman scenes, I might actually kill myself. That's what it says. But at least the game actually kind of looks good. I just realized I haven't been playing the video. At least the game actually kind of looks good, but is what I would say, if not for later in the game, we had this happen. So later in the game, I don't know if it's because of all the clutter or something, but this stuttering, this isn't in like the YouTube encoding. This was how it was in the game. And for a game that is on performance mode on the PS5, this is unacceptable. This is not okay. And like, this should have been patched out immediately. This was just absolutely like, this was like where I snapped and I was like, okay, I don't even want to, I'm returning this game. I can't play this shit anymore. So yeah, ultimately, the Otherworld segments, they're very mid, and then they get annoying with the cutscenes. The story in general is just petty high school drama bullshit until it's not anymore. And then like the fucking combat is okay in theory, but terrible in practice because of the difficulty options and the balancing with the health. And ultimately, I do think the soundtrack is just mid. It's very unique, but it's mid. If I have to say anything positive, I think the day one cover box art is cooler than the normal one. Anyways, I looked into the Higurashi dude, the guy who wrote this game, because it's like some dude who was like known for making other popular stuff. And, call me crazy, but if you're gonna make a visual novel that takes like a cajillion fucking hours for it to actually get interesting and good, or like have a twist or anything like that, it's basically the equivalent to the guy who swears on his life that One Piece it gets good after episode 300. So fuck off. An interesting ending does not make up for the rest of the story being completely sleeper, and frankly, high school is just fucking lame. If high school is boring, it's lame, and frankly, call me crazy, but I think you need to grow up. If you actually get invested in like petty high school drama shit like that, you either did not have a good high school life, or you had a very unrealistic one where you didn't hang out with many people, in which case, haha, loser, or you're still in school, or you're sad at their adult world and just desperately cling to the idea of going back, in which case, get some therapy, or bitches, or something. I get it, but running doesn't solve anything. Or you're C, a pedophile. And considering Japan's fascination with stories taking place in high school and how degenerate the country is, things are starting to make sense now. I also heard that significant changes are made in New Game Plus, and frankly, I hate that shit. It is a clear showcase of the developer thinking that their game is so good that you'll want to run it back immediately, let alone ever, which very, very few games are ever universally done like that. I hate it in other Silent Hills, and I hate it here. It tells me the developer does not respect my time. So yeah, note to developers, make 100% of your games doable on a first playthrough, or 95% at least. Thinkers and no lives be damned. It's a shit game, and I'm just tired of all these Japanese writing conventions coming together. Not to say that American writing conventions are better, but man, I'm just tired of fucking seeing this shit. And I wanted to like this game, I really did, but it was just unacceptable on both gameplay and story perspectives. Because even if Silent Hill F was a bit of a disappointment, and by a bit I mean a lot of a disappointment, at least 5 days after it came out, I got Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. I think this is now the new best way to play Final Fantasy Tactics, and that shouldn't be surprising at all, considering the competition is the PS1 version, which you actually have the option to play with the Ivalice Chronicles. I wouldn't recommend it though. Or the PSP version, which what you are missing out on with the PSP version is actually not really that much. You are missing out on Balthier and the animated cutscenes, which are very far and few between. And I think it's fine to miss out on the animated cutscenes, because now all these cutscenes are completely and totally voice acted now. And I guess because they got a new voice actor for Ramza and Delita and all them, they didn't want to dub over the animated cutscenes. So I don't know. I'm unsure, honestly. But it definitely, as someone who played and really enjoyed the PSP version, it is definitely really weird to hear Ramza and not hear his twinkish little cadence, and instead hear a very different voice. And fun fact, I actually learned this when writing a script for a different video, but he's voiced by Chris from Xenoblade 3. And I'm pretty sure Mustadio is Noah from Xenoblade 3. Anyways, expanding on the voice acting, I'd say all in all, they go all out with the voice acting for this game. And it makes sense considering how integral the story of this game is to why it is so important and so beloved. Because this is without a doubt one of the best Final Fantasy stories, period. And if I were to include spin-offs in my top 5 Final Fantasy lists or whatever, this is definitely cracking that list. I'd say it's probably 3 or 2. It's my third favorite or my second favorite, because in terms of story. That being said, the gameplay still has problems. So this game is a tactical RPG. It's with a lot of strategy involved, but the problem is they improved the gameplay a lot, but they didn't get rid of PS1 jank, if that makes sense. This game is still incredibly hard and incredibly grindy. So unless you know what you are doing to an absolute T, if you're a new player, you are still going to probably want to grind a lot. You're gonna probably be spending 10 to 20 hours grinding in your 60-hour playthrough. because this game is not short. This game is a while to beat. But at least there are other quality of life options. Auto advance with the text boxes, now that they're voice acted. There's this thing called the Chronicle. Oh my god, that is a life save. The Chronicle allows you to just like read up on information. It's like a compendium from Final Fantasy 13 that gives you all the terms and all the characters, because this is a very complicated plot with a lot of moving chess pieces basically, and thankfully the Chronicle just tells you all about it. It tells you all the terms. It shows you like a little map. It shows you like a little map showing like a summary of events. It shows you. It does a lot. The quality of life on display is insane. But the main thing is just that I wish the game wasn't as grindy. I guess maybe I'm just complaining because like I could have just played on easy, because they added difficulty options, thankfully. So like, I don't know, if you were really struggling, maybe you could go back down to easy. I played on normal for my entire playthrough. I didn't change it once, so I don't know how the difficulty balancing is. And I am very glad, because again, I think this game is very hard, and in the original and both the PSP version, there are so many spots in the game where it was easy to soft lock your entire, not even soft lock, hard lock your entire save file, where you're either going to have to be grinding for so unbelievably long, or you're just gonna have to start a new save. And sometimes it's not even like you're gonna have to be grinding. Sometimes it's just you lock your save into a chokehold and you have to start over again. This is definitely a game for hardcore gamers, and I'm glad it's getting more accessible, but I'm gonna be honest, it's still full of a lot of like bullshit enemy design near the end of the game that like needs you to have a very specific setup to counteract. Like, it just genuinely baffles me that they kept like the fight with like Weegraf/Bellius, like that is an absolute run killer, and it's pretty much the same. It's the only difference is you can flee back to the world map if you wanted to. They also kept the stupid-ass Zodiac system, which pisses me off. There's this whole thing where every single one of your parties have fucking, like, birthdays, and their Zodiac sign. It matches well with other Zodiac signs, but not with other Zodiac signs. So, like, if you're, like, a Taurus and you're weak against, like, Capricorn, I don't know if that's actually the case, but, like, so if like, Ramza is a Taurus and he's fighting a Capricorn, he's less likely to hit it, and I hate that shit. I hate it! Let's see. There's also, you can also flee random encounters now, which is also kind of cool. And it absolutely trivializes errands. So errands are now super easy to just do. I've noticed if you have, like, more than one finger on the PlayStation controller touchpad, the game bugs the fuck out. I have no idea why. That is something I observed, though. They also added an autosave, which is very useful. Like, my problem isn't that the quality of life is bad, it's just that there isn't enough. That being said, the one thing that I really do not like is that in added to the PSP version is Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Like, there's an optional side mission where you can just recruit Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, and it's really cool. And then you can recruit Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, which makes sense because Final Fantasy XII and Final Fantasy Tactics both take place in Ivalice, right? Same fucking thing. But for some fucking reason, they didn't add Balthier to Ivalice Chronicles. Only Cloud. You can play Cloud, and he's totally fine. Exact same. Except it's voice acted. And I'm pretty sure they use the same voice actors from Remake and /Rebirth. And, side note, Cloud's voice actor genuinely tries way harder in this game than he does in Rebirth. So it really is the voice direction in Rebirth that sucks. But like, why not Balthier? That makes no sense to me that they didn't add that, and it pisses me off. I also still think the game has the problem of like all the cool characters joining your party super late into the game with barely any upgrades. Like, throughout the story you see these cool ass characters and they only join your team and like the very last chapter, but by then your team's already going to be stacked because like you spent so much time building them. Still, ultimately, this is like, there's still nothing wrong with the story. It's still one of the most bittersweet stories in all of gaming around, and it's still a complete banger. The problems with this game do not lie with the changes made, but rather what was kept. So it's a great game hidden in a lot of PS1 jank that is still around for this remaster. So if you're okay with like following guides or grinding a lot, then this game is great. If not, maybe just watch the cutscenes. But hopefully with this remaster coming out and being successful, we can actually get more remasters of older Final Fantasies that need it. Namely, Vagrant Story, considering it's also an Ivalice game. Speaking of, I played Vagrant Story next. Okay, considering this game is still locked to the PS1, there is of course a lot of PS1 jank, obviously, but I do want to say that, man, that's all I gotta say, really. This game is a game for hardcore gamers, for sure, and I'm going to be honest, I knew that, so going into it, I watched like a tips video, and like this guy, this video that I'm showing right here helped me a lot, but oh my god, it's like, it's bad, it's really bad. It's definitely a game where like you have to read the manual beforehand, but because it's like locked to the PS1 and it came out like over 25 years ago, it's like we're stuck with like dealing with a lot of emulation jank. So like, for example, you don't know the main character's motivation unless you sit on the title screen for a while and let like a special cutscene play after you're on the title screen for a while. It's really stupid. That being said, the actual opening cutscene at least is like a huge aura farm, and I like that a lot. Like, the game opens up very strongly, I'll say. And I also say that the combat is very unique. You press a button and this like sphere shows up, and you target specific body parts, and the body parts affect different stats. You know, like head is magic, body is like overall defense, and like obviously the hand holding the weapon is an attack. And then you start getting abilities that like where like once you hit, like an exclamation point will appear above your head, and if you press a button, like you'll do another hit and that'll afflict some sort of status effect, and you can keep chaining them together, and that's really cool. There's also like spells and these special attack abilities. It's definitely a very unique combat system. The problem is, once you start unlocking more spells, the combat just becomes so very samey. Like, you're gonna be doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're gonna afflict a debuff or a buff on yourself. You're gonna start attacking with a chain, and then you're gonna use healing items or magic whenever you're just, you know, you're low on health. It's the same over and over and over again. And frankly, I don't think this game is a difficult game for hardcore gamers. I think it's a difficult game because it's hard to understand the mechanics. But once you do, it doesn't even become easy, it just becomes tedious. Again, it's filled with like PS1 jank, and PS1 jank is just frustrating. At least the game looks cool for a PS1 game. I think the art style is very unique compared to any PS1 game I've ever played, and like even like the text boxes are really cool. It's like the fucking, they're like comic boxes. I think that's fucking awesome. Also, the main like hero and villain are in a toxic yaoi relationship, so what's there not to love? I also know, like, I was very excited to get into this next entry into the Ivalice story. I even like, I pogged the fuck out when I saw that the narrator for this game is the narrator of Tactics. But like, there's just still so much bullshit. Like traps from 12 are in this game. I hated traps in 12. The fucking invisible floor tiles that if you step on, just shit happens. They're in this game as well. There's a lot of button clunkiness as well. Like, circle is the button to do like every action, but when you're menuing, it's like when you're menuing, it matches with circle and X for some reason, at least in the American version, probably not in the Japanese version, but still. Everything asks for confirmation as well, and like there's a lot of sub menus that are just completely useless. And then the unfortunate truth of this game came upon me, and that is that you're gonna spend so much of the game down in dark, dingy dungeons, and you're barely gonna get sunlight. And as a person who likes sunlight like a lot, I can't deal with that. So despite how like cool the game seems, I saw that like I didn't want to be dungeon crawling for 20 hours for a total of like 2 hours of cutscenes, so I ultimately shelved the game. I'm really sorry. Also, oh, I forgot to mention, but the game has like an assembly system with the weapons, and at first I thought it was going to be like some Lies of T type shit, but it really just affects stats. But like, it's still cool. Either way, I shelved it because I'm gonna be real, the entire game is just in a dingy dungeon, and I feel the story between the gameplay rather than being entwined with the gameplay, and I don't like that. Story's also really hard to follow if you're not taking notes. So it's unfortunate, but goodbye, Vagrant Story. Which finally brings us to our last game of the year. And this one I only played because someone begged me in my YouTube comments to play it, and I figured I'd indulge them because it did look interesting. Because next up, I played Lethal League Blades. This is a very unique fighting game, and basically you don't actually attack each other directly. There's this ball going across the arena, and basically a baseball, and you're just like passing that back and forth trying to hit people with it, and you know, basically when their health is up, their health is up. But there's like There's bunting, there's throwing, there's catching, and obviously hitting the ball. And then there's like weird special abilities with each character that affects the ball in a different way. And there's also parrying as well, which is there's a good amount of complexity to this one mechanic that the game is centralized around. And I will say it was very interesting. I also really like the vibe and aesthetic and like the soundtrack for this game as well. I like I don't actually know the word for it, but like it's like a Jet Set Radio kind of aesthetic, and you know, who doesn't like the aesthetics of Jet Set Radio? That being said, I think the game itself teaches you this in a very not friendly way. If you're learning this game, you're definitely going to want to watch like a YouTube video rather than the game's tutorial. I think the game tutorial is fucking terrible, especially considering half of it is like locked behind a menu. Okay, you first launch the game and it's like, do you want to learn how to play the game? You say yes, it gives you a tutorial. Little did I know that if you go to like the help menu, it gives you tutorial 1 and tutorial 2, and you only play tutorial 1. So I missed out on a lot of good lessons when I first fucking played this game, which like would have helped me a lot when I played it. So I'd say the tutorials do not convey enough information. Why would you hold your second tutorial back? It's just like 3 extra minutes. It's like not that hard, but it's so frustrating that's hidden like that. Either way, I do like ultimately appreciate the concept. Like I think it's a really cool idea to mix like a fighting game with baseball, because I like baseball actually. I'm not really into fighting games that much other than Smash Bros, but I like baseball. But the real question is, does it execute the concept well? And I honestly think, for the most part, like, when you're in a rhythm, you're in a fucking rhythm of, like, bouncing this bitch back and forth. Pause. And, like, it feels very satisfying, like, when you're constantly switching it back and forth, and, like, you ultimately get the last laugh, and, like, your opponent fucking just falls over, keels over. Like, it's very satisfying. I like that core. I like that's the core experience. That being said, there are some things I think could be improved, mainly like parries and specials. I feel like I never really know when I activate parries or specials. Well, I know when I activate parries, but I wish they could be assigned to their own buttons. I also just wish there was more buttons, like combat. I wish there was more customization options to change buttons, because like I'm pretty sure this game it attached the attack options to letter buttons rather than face buttons, meaning like, if it says press X to do this and you're on a Switch Pro controller, then you're also going to have to press X on like an Xbox controller, which is in a completely different location, rather than just saying the left button or the top button. Like, that is devious as fuck. I also wish there was just more stages. I don't feel like there's enough of them, and I'd like some more visual variety personally. Character-wise, it's fine. I think there's enough characters to add like unique things. That being said, I don't know how to feel about the general movement of this game. I'd say it's like pretty floaty, and I even if that's intentional, I never really fucked with floaty combat in like any video game or just floaty movement. Still, I do appreciate the vibes and soundtrack of this game. But like ultimately, I just think it has the problems from this game come from like just a lack of meat. You know, I feel like there's potential to be way more with this idea. So, like, ultimately, I do like this game. It is, like, cool. I think it's entertaining to watch. But for when I'm personally playing it, I don't think it can keep me entertained for more than an hour at a time, honestly. That being said, so, like, if a sequel were to come out that, like, adds more to the foundations, I would definitely be very interested. But personally, right now, it's just, like, a cool thing that I'd rather watch than play. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just not for me, in my opinion. But I appreciate this game and what it does. So to that one guy who really wants me to play this game, sorry that I didn't like super enjoy your game, but I definitely like I respect it. I see what it does, and I think it's like kind of cool. And finally, that is all the games that we have done. Well, there is one more. You know, I found it like real hard to decide whether I should even bother getting the game, because there's a lot of things that held me back from it. The main one being that shit with Miles McKenzie. I saw that and I saw everyone's complaints. I also don't know how to feel about adding an Ocarina of Time style overworld of just an empty fucking hub, that being this fucking desert and this like little motorbike. Also, like, I also heard about the green crystals, which like, seriously, why the fuck does Retro Studios keep making artifact hunts that nobody likes? I also heard that there's no space pirates in this game, which is a bad omen. But most importantly, getting doxxed really makes you reevaluate something you thought you loved. But ultimately, that is all the games I played this year. In total, I'd say, and now it is time for me to give out the prestigious honors of Game of the Year awards and an honorable mention to both games I played that came out in 2025 and games I just played in 2025. So for honorable mentions, I'm gonna say the games that came out in 2025. I'm gonna say Donkey Kong Bonanza as my honorable mention because it's just a fun time. I just wanted to keep playing it. I haven't played the DLC yet because I got distracted by other things and I didn't have money at the time, but I really liked it a lot. As for things I played, I really like Kentucky Route Zero, but ultimately I'm gonna have to give it to Pandora's Tower. It is just it's good enough for me to just immediately start a Let's Play. It's so focused, and I love that unique gameplay formula. It's so good. But in terms of Game of the Year, for games that came out in 2025, it is Expedition 33. Big surprise. Are you actually surprised? Are you surprised at all? No, you're not. Okay. In terms of games I played, however, it's Outer Wilds DLC. Like I immediately made a video on it that came out this year. Come on, it's obvious by that. So yeah, that was like what, 3.5 hours. And guess what? There's still more of this video to go because I am now going to talk about the books I read. If you want to just skip to what I'm talking about, stuff relating to the channel rather than books, you can skip here, but I want to talk about books now. Though this section is going to be way shorter considering that the books I read is only 8. I only read 8 books this year, and I'll tell you why. But first, let's talk about Where I'm Calling From by Raymond Carver. There's a selection of his best short stories, period, and some new short stories. And I ultimately think this is one of my new favorite books of all time. I said it before, but Carver's book prose is very short and simple, and he just keeps it very sweet and like basic. And he's just so good at it. He's definitely my favorite author prose-wise, and he still remains that way through all of these short stories. I think that cements his place now in that term. In terms of the short stories themselves, since it is a selection and not like a personalized collection that he wrote, this is just a miscellaneous selection. It contains a lot of different subject matters, but they all centralize about being about normal-ass people in the normal-ass world dealing with problems. The big one, the one that the book is named after, Where I'm Calling From, is about alcoholism and a guy struggling from it real hard. And I will say, this thing is like 500 pages of short stories, and ultimately, yeah, sometimes it can get tiring to read about the same subject matter, but just when you think you are getting tired, he'll throw in a short story that really, like, spices things up. And then there was the last short story he wrote, which is called Errand, because this released like a year before he died. Yeah, it's just the last short story on this book is called Errand, and it's so unique. Like even for him, it's not him, but I like it a lot. I'm really sad that he didn't get to like expand upon that kind of writing more. It's instead about a playwright. Pretty sure it was Chekhov, and it was like a fictionalized historical event. Basically, it was historical fiction about his death from like a fever or a disease or something. I'm gonna say best short stories in this book are Errand. I'm just gonna go in backwards order. Errand, A Small Good Thing, Cathedral. I really liked those last two. Chef's House, Where I'm Calling From, Vitamins, So Much Water, So Close to Home, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, Distance, A Serious Talk, Gazebo, Are These Actual Miles, Why Honey, Neighbors, They're Not Your Husband, Bicycle Muscles and Cigarettes, and Nobody Said Anything. Ultimately, this is a good book. I liked it a lot. Next up, I read Poor Things by Alistair Gray, an adaptation of the movie adaptation. Poor Things starred Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe, and it was very popular when it came out in late 2023. This is the book for that. Spoilers, I'm going to make a video about this book separately, but I will say that it's very good. It's very different from the movie. It's epistolary. It's told through a series of memoirs and letters, and it has and it also has a lot of drawings, like a lot of them. And it's also very uniquely, it's like funny in a very different way from the movie. It is also very distinctly Scottish, which is very important, and I'll get into that later. But for now, know that this is also one of my favorite books. Then I finally read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's fine. It's a very short and simple story about a man who basically doesn't give up on his dreams to find his sacred treasure. And his sacred treasure was like it wasn't the friends he had all along. It was like I already forget. He gets a dream of like finding a bunch of gold by the pyramids of Egypt, and he's from Spain. And he goes on this like odyssey to like find it, and then like it turns out the treasure he had was the lessons he learned along the way of like of like loving the world and loving others and stuff like that. And like it's cool. I think it's a cool story, but it is pretty like basic in terms of the lessons you learn. It's not very it's definitely a book that's good if you're like a preteen, I'd say. But I think it just lacks the substance that I want from like the literature that I like to read. Still, there are also like little sketches in the book that I actually really like and appreciate, and I just want more of, honestly. So that's pretty cool. But next up, I read The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. This book is so unique. It is autobiographical about the author losing her best friend and having to take care of his dog, and how she grows attached to the dog after spending more time with it. And I think this is an amazing story. Frankly, I think it should be adapted into a movie. Nah. But like, the plot sounds like it'd be like movie adaptable, but no. It's very unique because a lot of the book, like, yeah, it's just her hanging out with the dog, but also just her thoughts on life and her friend as well. And also her writing style is just so unique, and I definitely want to read more from Sigrid Nunez. Her writing style, funnily enough, it reminds me of Rorschach's journal from Watchmen, but I mean that in a good way. Like, she'll say something and then kind of like give out just a sentence that is just her thought process when she wrote that sentence, which I think is really funny and like cool. Also, I'd say chapter 11 of this book is also very unique with what it does, and you can tell that this book was I don't know if she moved on from the grief when she wrote this, but it shows how devastating losing a friend can be, and it shows how helpful having company can be, even if it's just a dog, because dogs, they exist to cheer us up. Dogs are amazing, and this book highlights that. Speaking of dogs, the next book I read was Dog Stories. This is just a collection of multiple short stories about dogs from various authors throughout the world. And because of that, I think it is very hit or miss, because, you know, some of the short stories are really good. Some of the short stories are really bad. I still do not like Ray Bradbury. I'm tired of reading short stories by him. I'm tired of reading him. I don't like him. But they all centralize around dogs. Some are good and happy, and the dog and the owner live happily ever after, and some are bad and the dog dies, and it makes me very sad. If I had to say which are my favorite, I really like Ava's Apartment. I really like There I Was Stuck with Bubsy. I really like A Dog's Tale. Josephine Has Her Day. Seeing Eye. Her Dog. The Story of Two Dogs. And the last one, Black Dog. But this is where things kind of became a slog for me, because I came to a realization that maybe note-taking for all my books isn't a good idea. And then I got distracted by Expedition 33, and I didn't read for a while, like 2 whole months straight. But then I came back strong with what is 100% my new second favorite book. Maybe even my first favorite. I don't know, I still have to stew on it more. But then I read, also by the author of Poor Things, Lanark by Alistair Gray. I don't know if I can show this because this is a naked woman, but shut up, I don't care. This book is a wild ride. Oh my god, it is called A Life in 4 Books. So the 2 of the books are about a man named Lanark, an amnesiac in a dystopian city called Unthink, and it is absolutely miserable, and there's a weird disease going around turning people into dragons, and the government is really just like trying their best to just fuck over the common man, similar to our government, honestly. But like, again, it's all like fictional and weird, and there's like this weird institute in the center of the earth that's trying to like control everything, and like they're also just trying to go to the moon in like a phase of like pure accelerationism. But then the other 2 books are about a man named Duncan Thaw, who's just like a guy trying to go to art school in a post-war Glasgow, Scotland. And then I read that this is the life of the author, Alistair Gray. So it's an autobiography mixed in with this weird dystopian tale. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it gets so fucking wild, and it gets so weird and abstract with it, but it also gets so artsy. And eventually there's a point in the book where the book just tells you the themes of the book, and it's like, it's good. Even though it's saying subtleties for cowards. This book is amazing, and I, like, of all the books to recommend this to you, this is the biggest one that I think everybody should read. And after that, I fell in love with the author Alistair Gray, so I started reading his other works, including The Fall of Kelvin Walker. This is a book about a Scottish man heading to London in the swinging 60s to go make it big, and spoilers, he falls pretty bad. It's a short book, and it was originally a stage play he wrote, adapted into a book, And for what it is, I think it's pretty cool, but I'm still very confused on what the theme of the book is. So yeah, and I thought I would enjoy it more than I did, but I ended up enjoying McGrotty and Ludmilla way more. This is his version of the Aladdin story, but instead of a genie's lamp, it is a report that that has dirt on all the British government figures in the world. And instead of Aladdin, you have McGrotty, this dude who just wants to bang the minister's daughter. It is a very weird satirical novel on the world of British politics, of United Kingdom politics, and I like it. Of all the books, this one is the most similar to Bukowski's in terms of how like pessimistically funny it is. And then there's the book I'm reading right now, which is Unlikely Stories Mostly. This is a collection of short stories by him, and it has. Let me show you a picture. There's cool pictures like all throughout the book, like all throughout the book, and I like it a lot. But I'm not gonna really give my opinion on it yet because I am not even done with it. So those are the books I read this year, and if I were to rank them from worst to best, I'd say Dog Stories, The Fall of Kelvin Walker, The Alchemist, McGrotty and Ludmilla, The Friend, Where I'm Calling From, Poor Things, Lanark. Those last two really, Poor Things and Lanark, definitely sparked a change in me in terms of like my literature that I like to consume and what I like. So anyways, now it's time to talk about jELeeoo videos. Me! That's me! First of all, let's just take a quick little overview of what I made this year. I made a total of 9 videos. Yep. Frankly, I don't know how to feel about that because you know, some things delayed videos by a lot. There might have been a 10th video this year if it weren't for, you know. But you know what? It's fine. I want to rank my videos that I made this year. At number 9 is the To Whom It May Concern update, because it's just an update video. At number 8 is the Silk Song review, because that is mostly just rage being people I don't like, and also just giving a quick review on Psycho Patrol R. But like, it's not, you know, it's not jELeeoo video. It's not like fancily edited. It was just something to really get my thoughts out on a game I wanted to talk about, and also at the same time, fucking tell everyone who's telling me to play Silk Song to go fuck themselves. Then I'd say the 2025 room tour. It's a room tour. I just felt it would be fun and stupid and silly. And then there's Magnum Opus, which is a fun and stupid silly shitpost. I think it was really funny. And number 5 is Bukowski ranked, because I felt I wanted to make more book videos, but the one I wanted to make the most was ranking my favorite author. And I just think it's a solid video. I also like the reception it got. It got a surprising amount of comments of people saying they like pulp the most, which is interesting to me. And number 4, I'm gonna say the Xenoblade video I made this year. I hope it was somewhat of a way to make amends for the terrible video I made in 2021. I also think it was very unique in how I formatted it, talking about why it's so special to me specifically, and why it, and also talking about the 100% journey and how that went, and also just a general exploration of my save file rather than the game itself. And number 3, I'm going to say the Dark Souls Cures Depression video. That one got very positive reception. A lot of people, they're like, I can't believe I'm coming here from YouTube Shorts or TikTok to actually watch a video. I've never done that before. And I'm so glad. That makes me very happy. I think my storyboarding work was the best with this video in particular. I also just had a lot of fun playing the game to get the footage from it, which was very fun. Also, the script was done like before the Final Fantasy 12 video came out, which was crazy. So like, I didn't even have to really care about the script that much. This one just went by smoothly. Of course, there were some comments from a certain fan base that kind of made it yucky, but whatever. But however, at number 2, I'm going to say the Outer Wilds video, and that's just because I like the source material so much, and I like how I very uniquely put the perspective of the video in the main characters. I think that's awesome how I did that. And of course, I really like the music, and I really like while the storyboarding work was great in the Dark Souls video, I think the amount of like aura shots I got and like the framing of my of how I did things, and also like the amount of graphics I made and like Illustrator and stuff like that, I think that is at its strongest here. I think the production quality in the Outer Wilds video is very strong, and I liked it a lot. But at number 1 is probably my Final Fantasy 12 video. I just like how in depth I went with it, and I felt like I didn't like waste a single sentence. I felt like it was very despite being like over an hour long, I feel it is very good for that. Maybe those 5 minutes with like the cutscene translations, that definitely went on a bit long. That's why I included that timestamp to skip. But ultimately, I am glad I did that, because I just wanted to show like my literary comprehension skills. I also just think my editing is at some of its best, and some of it's like, it's a combination of like this cool like stylized like graphics to convey information, but also absolute shitpost editing. I think that's great. I'm very glad. I think so far that is my magnum opus right now. So that is those are my jELeeoo videos for the year. But I actually want to talk to you all about what I plan on making next year. Here I have the agenda. I figured, you know, new year, new me, and I'm deciding to be completely 100% open with you all about what I plan on doing in the future. So I have a Notion board that's called the agenda that has all my planned big, like, fancy editing style jELeeoo videos. I actually need to switch this. There we go. And in the sake of openness, I'm going to share it all with you. This also, I started this with the Dark Souls video, which it was done, and I plan on getting it out the first week of May, and I ended up doing that May 2nd. With the Xenoblade 100% video, I planned on doing that on my 9th year anniversary on YouTube, and I did that. With the Outer Wilds video, I plan on getting that out sometime in like September 2025, and then it got delayed to late November. And then I was going to plan on making, for the late year, a video about The World Ends With You, specifically talking about Neku, the main character, and his redemption arc, and how it's such a well-written redemption arc that should be, you should look at if you want to make a redemption arc for a character. But then I got distracted by Expedition 33, and I was like, I want to make a video about that instead. And the idea is called Mr. Expedition 33, and then I'm not going to say the rest of the title, but this one's going to be very unique. This is the only one I'm going to be a little secretive about, but basically is going to be comparing Expedition 33 with a certain other thing. And it's going to be talking about how both talk about grief. But Expedition 33 talks about grief via metaphor, and the other talks about grief via example, and they're both great ways to talk about and handle grief. It is late in the scripting phase, but ultimately I got insecure about the scripts, or just I lost my confidence in it, and I think I'm definitely gonna have to re-examine it before I decide more about it. So right now the release date is undetermined. As for the World Ends With You Neku analysis, I hope it can be out at a reasonable time. If it's either going to be before April of 2026, or it is going to be after June of 2026. And I'm saying that because the big thing I am working on is Xenoblade 3. I'm going to say it now, for my 10-year anniversary on YouTube, I'm making a big fat review of Xenoblade 3, and it is already well along. I'm in the editing process. The scripting, the storyboarding, most of the collecting, the thumbnail, that is all done. I recorded the audio. It is 1 hour and 40 minutes. So when it's done editing, you're probably gonna see like an extra 5 to 10 minutes. So like about 2 hours long. This video is going to hopefully be really big, but also my magnum opus. And I am hoping to have it out my 10-year anniversary on June 21st, 2026. I really shouldn't say collecting anymore. I needed to update it. It is in the editing phase. I have like 10 minutes of 1 hour and 40 minutes done. Funnily enough, before that, I was also going to release a big fat video talking about You Were Never Really Here. The book by Jonathan Ames, and later the movie adaptation directed by Lynn Ramsey. And I wanted to talk about both, compare them, contrast them, and talk about what a hauntingly beautiful story it is. That being said, the script is longer than Xenoblade 3's script, and it's not even done. Granted, I haven't worked on it in months because I've just been focusing on Xenoblade 3, and I'm not going to be working on it until I'm done with Xenoblade 3. So originally I wanted this video to be out before the Xenoblade 3 video, but then I saw how long it was being, so now I want to hopefully get it out before June of 2027, but even then I am unsure of that. So big projects to be on the lookout for is Xenoblade 3 video that's going to be coming out in June, and then whenever I can after that, the You Were Never Really Here video, and Xenoblade 3 video is probably going to be my magnum opus. I hope it is. And the You Were Never Really Here video, definitely going to be my darkest video, by far, because it's a very dark story. It's going to talk about a lot of heavy subject matter, but I think it'll be good. Then I want to make a video that's kind of a retrospective on Monolith Soft, the company that made Xenoblade, and I'm currently just conceptualizing it, and I want to get it out by June of 2026. Specifically, I want to release it on the channel Black Jupiter. Black Jupiter is a YouTube channel that I'm friends with, and they like to take they host multiple people on their channels, and I think if I made a video on their channel talking about Monolith Soft and, you know, Xenoblade, I could then say, if you like this content, maybe you can come to my channel and like my Xenoblade 3 video. That's totally awesome. So a little bit of promotion. Then just conceptualize, just sometime in the distant future, I'm not going to be worrying about making them at all. I want to make a big fat video on Pandora's Tower, and a short little video essay called Co-op Games Need More Jank. This was inspired by my time playing the first Halo game, because I realized I like playing it more than Reach, specifically because of that unique 2001 jank. Other soft concepts I want is just a Deep Rock video. I don't know exactly what it is going to be about, but I want to make a video about Deep Rock, and I also want a gaming video. I want to get on my main channel. I want a video of just me hanging out with the boys and gaming. And then lastly, our book videos. As you know, I like to release a lot of book videos to advertise when I release a book, and I thought I would be releasing a lot of those this year, but the copyright certificate is still not in. I submitted a copyright claim. I submitted a copyright certificate for my latest book, To Whom It May Concern, which is going to be coming out as soon as I can, but I'm waiting for that to arrive in the mail, and we don't know how long it takes because it's first come first serve, so they could just be backed up with the copyright queue. So it's just a matter of time. That being said, I did film a lot of videos in the meantime and conceptualized a lot, so here is a little list of them. The ones in green I have filmed, the ones in red I have not filmed, and the ones in blue I might shelf, which is just one. So first of all is a little comedic trailer. It's gonna be kind of like a cinematic movie parody. Then I'm going to ask, is being a slow reader a good thing? I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of being a slow reader and saying, hey, it's ultimately not that bad. It might be better than being a fast reader, honestly. Then I'm going to talk about my obsession with Alasdair Gray, way more in depth, going in my personal history with the author and overall just the things I really like about him. And then I decided I'm just going to make a review of literally all the Alasdair Gray books I have read. So I did a Poor Things review. I recorded that. Although I haven't filmed it yet because I want to wait for the copyright certificate to actually come in, so like it's going to be filmed after the book is out. I want to do a little behind the scenes of To Whom It May Concern, talk about the processes of writing it, and also adding the drawings, and also the technical processes like submitting a copyright claim. The next video is going to be called I Lied, Notebooks Aren't Important. Notebooks kind of stopped me from reading for a bit, and then I realized they're not that important as I thought they were, so I'm going to make a video talking about the stigma behind them, and how just use notebooks if you want to use notebooks. If you don't. Then this book idea is insane. I'm not going to say what this one's about, but it's going to be a very short video that I recorded, and it's going to be talking about a trend I've seen that is actually really cool and I like. Then ranking every book I've read so far. This is up to me before reading Lanark. In the middle of reading Lanark. I was almost done with the book. So it is not going to include McGrotty and Ludmilla or the Fall of Kelvin Walker or Unlikely Stories mostly. All these other books it's going to include though. Then 5644242, a short story. This is a short story that I've written for a collection that I plan on releasing sometime. But I thought, it's a really good short story and it's done compared to the other short stories in that collection, which are not. So I figured I'd just make it a fun little adaptation similar to the Utility Man video. Then audiobooks, the problem or the solution? Pretty self-explanatory there, honestly. And then for videos that I have planned but I have not filmed are Disco Elysium, a playable novel, quickly just talking about the novelistic writing of Disco Elysium and how it is a lot more akin to a novel than a video game. Then forms of literature. Originally, I might shelf this because honestly, I just listed all the forms of literature that I know, of storytelling that I know, and I haven't really expanded upon it after that, and I can't really think of any way I can, and I don't want to just list different mediums of literature because that's just lame. I'm just listing something. Next is Kentucky Route Zero, the other playable novel. It's the same as the Disco Elysium video but with Kentucky Route Zero. And then remaining are the reviews of Alasdair Gray books. So yeah, that is the jELeeoo agenda that I'm sharing with you because I just want to be open with you. This is what I have planned for 2026, and yeah, I know that this video was very long, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get excited for the videos I have planned. I hope you at least take up an interest in reading, or maybe not, but hopefully yes. I hope you take an interest in the games I played this year if you haven't played them at all yet. Oh, I forgot to mention that I also have a backlogged account where I update this list of games I played in this year live. So if you want to actively see what I play and what I think of it, and then what I think of it after I've had a few months to sit with it, feel free to check out my backlogs account. It's jELeeoo like always. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. Here's to another hopefully cool year of gaming and reading, and hopefully banger videos from jELeeoo. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and goodbye. Merry Christmas.